Stop talking nonsense, let the bride come out for us to see. That's right, let's see what kind of person this silly boy has found, so that he won't bully our lazy in the future. In the lobby of a certain hotel. Looking at the noisy friends in front of him, Zhao Lei kept a silly smile on his face. Although these friends were shouting loudly today, he didn't care at all. Because today was a big day for him. He and his girlfriend Zhou Xiaofeng were finally going to walk into the grave of marriage together. Although Zhao Lei spent 500,000 yuan in betrothal gifts to buy this grave. However, these days, the streets are full of people selling their daughters, so the betrothal gifts are just spent. Anyway, today's marriage is considered to be a success. It can be seen that everyone is also looking forward to the bride. The wedding MC was also hired at a high price. It can be seen that he is very experienced. He stabilized the atmosphere on the scene with just one sentence, and then said, "Then, let's continue with today's wedding. Next, please ask the bride's father to hand the bride to the groom." As the MC spoke, the guests present looked towards the door. There was a door built with flowers, and 2 red curtains hung down. Zhao Lei looked at the curtain and smiled. He seemed to have seen Zhou Xiaofeng standing behind the curtain, wearing a wedding dress and smiling at him. After several years of love and a 500,000 yuan gift from various sources, he finally got married. The curtain was slowly opened by 2 flower girls, and Zhao Lei's friends began to make a fuss. But soon, all the curtains were opened, and the noisy scene suddenly became quiet. Even Zhao Lei's smile froze on his face. "Mom? Why are you here?" Behind the curtain was also a man and a woman. However, they were not his father-in-law and his girlfriend Zhou Xiaofeng, but Zhao Lei's mother-in-law Li Xiufen and his brother-in-law Zhou Wei. Li Xiufen had thick makeup on her face, and her face was as long as a donkey's. She was carrying an A-grade women's bag and just stood behind the door. Zhou Wei was fat and had a big body. He stood behind his mother. Both of them had stern faces. They didn't look like they were attending a wedding, but rather like they were here to cause trouble. Even the experienced MC was confused. "Why did you, an old mother-in-law, come out to join in the fun when the bride appeared? Don't call me mom. It's not the right time yet." Li Xiufen pulled a long face and interrupted Zhao Lei's words. In the surprised eyes of everyone, she walked to the side and sat down. "What does it mean?" Zhao Lei raised his eyebrows. From what Li Xiufen said, it seems that she is going to do something weird again today? "Mom, where is Xiaofeng? Today is a big day. Don't delay the time. I said, don't call me mom. My daughter hasn't married you yet." Zhao Lei was interrupted halfway through his words, which made Zhao Lei's face gloomy. However, Li Xiufen was the elder after all. Zhao Lei gritted his teeth and swallowed his anger. "Auntie, what do you mean?" "What do I mean? Come here and let's talk later." Li Xiufen looked at Zhao Lei and his friends with cold eyes, and pulled Zhao Lei to the room at the back of the hotel. This time, Zhao Lei's friends were left out here. "Auntie, what can't be said in front? It's not appropriate to leave all the relatives and friends out on such a happy day." Zhao Lei felt the dull atmosphere in the room just by opening the door. Zhou Xiaofeng sat on the sofa, lowered her head and said nothing. On the other side, her father-in-law was obsessed with the lawsuit. Only her mother-in-law and brother-in-law looked at her with their noses up. "They are all your friends outside. You can find a way to deal with them when the time comes." Li Xiufen snorted coldly, spitting out a lot of saliva, and said, "Now, you have to give me another 500,000 yuan in betrothal gifts, otherwise, you can forget about getting married today." 500,000 yuan. Betrothal gifts? Zhao Lei's eyelids twitched twice, and his whole person became gloomy. "You said 500,000 yuan at the beginning, and my whole family begged for money to get it together. Now we are about to get married, and you are asking me to add more money? Auntie, do you think this is okay? People are waiting outside. Let's get married first, and I'll find a way to get the 500,000 yuan later, okay?" Although his head was already buzzing, Zhao Lei still thought about the overall situation. Hundreds of relatives and friends outside were waiting eagerly. If the wedding could not be held today, he would be in big trouble. "No, if you can't take it out by then, who can I ask for it?" Li Xiufen pulled a long face and said like a shrew, "Don't think I don't know what you are thinking. Get married first to avoid embarrassment. I tell you, the embarrassment is also yours, Zhao Lei. What does it have to do with us? I also tell you, if you take out 500,000 yuan today, our Xiaofeng will hold the wedding with you. If you can't take it out, you can marry yourself." Zhao Lei only felt his head buzzing. The lion opened his mouth and asked for 500,000 yuan. "This is the time for a wedding, and you want me to exchange my head for 500,000 yuan? Xiao Zhao." The father-in-law opened his mouth and said embarrassedly, "Xiao Zhao, those outside are all your relatives and friends. Why don't you take advantage of this opportunity to go out and borrow some money? Xiao Wei met a girl 2 days ago. She gave a letter today, saying that they can get married, but they must pay a gift of 500,000 yuan. Otherwise, we can't make things difficult for you at this time? 500,000 yuan? Didn't I pay 500,000 yuan? Zhao Lei was dumbfounded. Even if you use my money to marry my son, you can't take it twice, right? The 500,000 yuan you take is just a gift. Don't I have to buy a car and a house when I get married? At this time, Zhou Wei stood up, shaking his big belly and said, I tell you, taking 500,000 yuan is a bargain for you. In an instant, Zhao Lei felt his heart sank. Your son is getting married, buying a car and a house, and you actually want me to pay for it? What do you think of me? A cash machine? Xiaofang, our classmates are waiting outside today. Seeing his brother-in-law and mother-in-law refusing to give in like mad dogs, Zhao Lei could only look helplessly at his girlfriend Zhou Xiaofang. He and Zhou Xiaofang were classmates in college, and they have a deep emotional foundation for so many years. Zhao Lei wanted Zhou Xiaofang to persuade her mother. Zhao Lei. What Zhao Lei didn't expect was that Zhou Xiaofang finally raised her head, but she was not as gentle as before, but showed a sense of indifference. I only have this one brother, my brother's marriage can't be delayed, you hurry up and get the money. This sentence made Zhao Lei's eyes red. Your brother's marriage can't be delayed, but my marriage can be delayed, right? Zhou Xiaofang. Zhao Lei's tone became gloomy with anger. I just want to ask you a question today. If you didn't have this 500,000, would you still get married today? What do you mean? When Zhou Wei heard what Zhao Lei said, her face suddenly became wrong, and she squatted directly beside her sister and said, Sister, look at Zhao Lei, he doesn't love you at all. If he loves you, would he not even take 500,000? You might as well kick him out and find a good one. That's right, Xiaofang. You might as well listen to me and go to that guy. He is so rich, let alone 500,000. I estimate that he can give 5 million. Li Xiufen also hurriedly followed her son's words. She thought that this would definitely stimulate Zhao Lei and make him go out to raise money for Zhou Wei. But the result made Li Xiufen a little dumbfounded. Zhao Lei glanced at the people in the room and sneered, then you can go find someone rich. I can't afford to fill your family's hole. What do you mean? Finally, Zhou Xiaofang spoke. This was the first time she had an emotional fluctuation. So you can talk too? Looking at the girl in a wedding dress, light makeup, the one he once loved deeply, Zhao Lei felt cold in his heart. If you had spoken up earlier, the result might have been different. But now, everything is too late. Zhao Lei has seen through it. The Zhou family is an endless pit that can never be filled, especially his useless brother-in-law. If he gets married, he might even have to be responsible for the family's food and daily life. Instead of being exhausted like a grandson at that time, it is better to break up now. What do you mean? Zhao Lei sneered, his fists creaking, don't you want to see me embarrassed? I'll help you. Since you don't have money and don't want to get married, you can go back. I'll just embarrass myself at the wedding banquet today. You're talking nonsense. Is that how you do things? Li Xiufen was furious when she heard what Zhao Lei said. He no longer cared about the dignity of an elder, and stood up, pointed at Zhao Lei's nose and cursed, Zhao Lei, you are also a person who pees while standing. The wedding is held today, and the bride is here. You tell me that the wedding is not going to be held. How can our Fong Fong face people in the future? Li Xiufen was indeed a little panicked at this moment. With the lazy and greedy family, what other man would be stupid enough to fall in love with his daughter except Zhao Lei? The rich second generation she mentioned was simply made up to stimulate Zhao Lei to take money, but Zhao Lei just gave up. This was completely different from what she thought. Mr. Li, I call you aunt because you are my elder. Don't be so shameless. Since they had already fallen out, Zhao Lei no longer had so many scruples and directly threw Li Xiufen aside. You also know that the wedding has been held and the bride has arrived, and you are blocking my door to ask for money. And then blame me for not holding the wedding? You have lived so long, do you still have any shame? You told me not to get married without money, so I won't get married. If you have someone to take over, go find one yourself. You want me to support a family of losers? I won't serve you anymore. Zhao Lei said all these words in his heart in one breath, and he felt much better. It felt like the shackles on his body were removed. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. At this moment, Zhao Lei's cell phone rang. Zhao Lei took it out and took a look. It was an unfamiliar number. Then he hung up directly. At this time, he was not in the mood to deal with those sales calls. But just as he hung up, the other party called again. He hung up again, and the call rang again. It went back and forth several times. Are you sick? I don't buy insurance. After so many times, Zhao Lei's anger that he had just vented was pushed up again. After answering the phone, he yelled into it. "I'm sorry, master." A gentle female voice came from the other side of the phone. It seemed that she was frightened by Zhao Lei's shout and spoke timidly. "Master?" Zhao Lei was stunned, and then he exhaled, "You dialed the wrong number, I'm not your master." As an orphan, how could he have the blessing to be someone else's master? "No, no, no, you are my master." When the person on the other end of the phone heard what Zhao Lei said, he seemed to realize that he was a little anxious. He calmed down and said, "I am the secretary of Mr. Zhao Wenshan, the chairman of Tianyuan Group." Tianyuan Group? Zhao Wenshan? Zhao Lei frowned slightly. Tianyuan Group, the largest business leader in this city. Zhao Wenshan is one of the top 10 richest people in China. It can be said that Zhao Wenshan is rich enough to rival a country, and his business is all over the world. But what does this have to do with me? You are the young master of our Tianyuan Group. Seeing that Zhao Lei did not get angry and continue to curse, the person on the other end of the phone was relieved and hurriedly continued to explain, "Did you donate blood last month? After genetic screening, you are Mr. Zhao Wenshan's biological son. Now, Mr. Zhao is terminally ill. You are his only legal heir in this world." These words made Zhao Lei's brain explode. Zhao Wenshan, the richest man in China. Zhao Lei didn't even dare to think that he would have any intersection with such a person. This time, Zhao Wenshan actually became his father directly. Then, wouldn't he be a super rich second generation? Wouldn't this status be extremely awesome? "Master, there will be a special car to pick you up in a while. I'll transfer some pocket money to you first." As she said that, the woman on the other side hung up the phone, and then Zhao Lei's phone vibrated. That was the reminder of the transfer. Looking at the amount, Zhao Lei's breathing became heavy. A full 20 million. And it's just pocket money. A series of zeros made Zhao Lei's breathing become rapid. Brother supporting demon? Looking at Zhou Xiaofang's cold face, Zhao Lei also showed a hint of sneer. You. Li Xiaofan never thought that Zhao Lei, who had always allowed their family to blood, would suddenly become so strong and so talkative. Until Zhao Lei finished the call, she couldn't find any words to refute, and could only point at Zhao Lei and work hard, but couldn't say a word. At this time, Zhao Lei's phone rang again. "Pick it up and take a look." It was the call from the MC. This MC is a well-known host in the city, and he usually won't take this kind of job. Zhao Lei had begged and pleaded to invite this person in order to give Zhou Xiaofang a grand wedding. Now it seems that all his good intentions might as well be thrown away. "Brother, I'm sorry to bother you." Although Zhao Lei is an orphan, he is a very cultured person, and he won't vent his anger on others. "You go back first, the wedding won't be held today, don't worry, I will double the reward for you." He hung up the phone. The Zhou family was completely dumbfounded. Originally thought that Zhao Lei was just being exploited and got angry. As long as he vented it out, it would be over. But they didn't expect Zhao Lei to directly send the MC away. Without the MC, how can the wedding go on? "Zhao Lei, don't you want me?" Zhou Xiaofang's originally indifferent face finally changed color. She has been with Zhao Lei for so many years, and she has never seen Zhao Lei so decisive. "I don't want you?" Zhao Lei was so angry that he laughed. He shrugged and said, "How dare I not want you? I can't afford you. If I marry you, I have to arrange for your brother as well. I'm not a charity." "You." Zhou Xiaofang opened her mouth, but finally couldn't say anything. This time, the whole Zhou family was speechless. A total of 5 people in the room fell into silence. The 4 members of the Zhou family didn't know how to refute Zhao Lei, while Zhao Lei was thinking about how to explain to his friends outside. After all, the wedding banquet was set up, and the wedding was called off. This fact was really hard to say. Zhao Lei. Just when the room was completely silent, the best man and bridesmaids could not wait any longer, and led by a beautiful girl, opened the door of the hotel. The girl in the front was wearing a pink long dress, light makeup, and long hair draped over her shoulders, which made people reluctant to look away. But at this time, the girl's face was obviously a little anxious. "Zhao Lei, what's wrong with you? How can you just send the MC away on such a happy day?" Looking at the girl in front of him, Zhao Lei didn't know how to explain for a while. The girl's name is Lin Shui, and she is a classmate of Zhou Xiaofang and him. Zhao Lei's career development has been helped by Lin Shui for so many years. Zhao Lei can also feel Lin Shui's feelings for him, but Lin Shui's family background is too good. Zhao Lei doesn't want to bear the blame of a gigolo, so he chose Zhou Xiaofang. Oh my god, this life is unbearable. Zhao Lei was still thinking about how to explain, and on the other side, Li Xiaofan drove in from outside and sat on the ground and howled. The corners of Zhao Lei's mouth twitched suddenly. This shrew, is she still not done? "Auntie, What's wrong with you? Get up! Lin Shui rushed over and wanted to help Li Xiufen up. Get out of here, you vixen! Before she even touched Li Xiufen was furious and pushed Lin Shui away. It's all your fault. You knew that our daughter and Zhao Lei were doing well, but you shamelessly rubbed against Lei Zi. Otherwise, how could Zhao Lei not want my daughter? Lin Shui was pushed away, and her face turned pale. However, she was a very cultured girl. Even though she was insulted like this, she still politely reached out to help. Li Xiufen didn't care about this at all. She reached out and tried to push Lin Shui away, but was slapped aside by Zhao Lei. Don't worry about it, let her cry. Zhao Lei also saw that Li Xiufen was now a mad dog, biting whoever she caught. You are still protecting her, you can't live like this. In an instant, Li Xiufen's decibels became much louder. Stop your slander. Zhao Lei couldn't bear it any longer, and he yelled, scaring Li Xiufen into silence. Then, Zhao Lei told her everything that had just happened. The people around him listened, and gradually they all showed contempt. Zhou Xiaofang looked good when she was in school, but I didn't expect her to be a brother-supporting demon. They want to increase the bride price at the wedding ceremony. It's amazing that the Zhou family thought of it. Tisk, that's it, I think scolding this old woman is too light. The comments made Zhou Xiaofang, who was originally on the stage, blush, and she lowered her head and dared not speak. You believe what he said? I didn't do that. He just defaulted. Li Xiufen didn't respond at all, and continued to cry, rolling on the ground while crying, which made Zhao Lei's head hurt. Zhao Lei, you have to give our Zhou family an explanation for this. Yes, you broke off the engagement at the wedding. How can our Fangfang live? Zhao Lei's friends believed him, but this was a wedding. In addition to Zhao Lei's classmates and friends, there were also Zhou's relatives. At this time, all these Zhou's relatives jumped out one by one. It's so difficult. Zhao Lei looked at these relatives who denounced him, and he was also in a headache. No matter how he explained this, it was useless. If he wanted the Zhou family to believe it, he had to let Li Xiufen admit it herself. After thinking about it, Zhao Lei's eyes suddenly lit up and he had an idea. Then, Zhao Lei came to Li Xiufen with his mobile phone. Li Xiufen didn't take it seriously at first, just glanced at it roughly. But soon, Li Xiufen's expression froze. 1 0. 2 zeros. All zeros. How much money is this? Aunt. Uncle, you are so rich? Seeing the money, Li Xiufen immediately changed her face. She used to be arrogant, but now she crouched down and came to Zhao Lei. Don't call me uncle, I don't admit that I have a mother-in-law like you. Zhao Lei sneered, slowly stood up, and said this in Li Xiufen's tone. No, uncle, you are a good uncle in our family. You tell me what you want mom to do, as long as you get married, mom will do anything. Li Xiufen nodded and said to Zhao Lei. Although she didn't know where Zhao Lei got so much money, it didn't matter at all. Now Li Xiufen's mind is full of Zhao Lei and Zhou Xiaofang getting married quickly. Then, all of Zhao Lei's money will become his son's, right? But some people around him didn't react. Seeing Li Xiufen groveling in front of Zhao Lei, everyone was confused. Something seems to be wrong between the mother-in-law and the son-in-law. How come Li Xiufen, who was crying just now, suddenly became fine? Really, anything is fine? Zhao Lei sneered at Li Xiufen. Anything is fine, whatever you say, mom will do. Li Xiufen nodded, her eyes narrowed into slits. As long as there is money, she will do anything. Well, then, take the microphone and tell everyone exactly what happened in the room just now. Zhao Lei handed the microphone over. This was also calculated by Zhao Lei. Li Xiufen is greedy for money, especially since her son is in urgent need of money. As long as she shows some assets, this old thing will definitely come up to flatter her. Looking at the microphone and then at the people in the audience, Li Xiufen showed an embarrassment. Son-in-law, as long as I say so, will you marry Fangfang? It depends on your performance. Zhao Lei shrugged. For a moment, the scene fell into silence. Li Xiufen looked at the microphone in Zhao Lei's hand, and then looked at her son. Gritting her teeth, she still picked up the microphone and walked to the front. Dear relatives and friends, I have something to declare to everyone. In fact, what happened in the room just now was not what I said. I lied to everyone. For the money in Zhao Lei's card, Li Xiufen didn't care about her face. She closed her eyes and poured out everything in the room as if she was going to the execution ground. You have lost the face of the Zhou family. In the group of seats of Zhou's relatives, an old man slammed the table, threw down a sentence, and turned around and left. He was obviously a more prestigious person in the Zhou family. When he left, the Zhou family stood up and followed him. In a moment, more than half of them left. You know nothing. Can your face be eaten? Son-in-law. Seeing that most of the Zhou family had left, Li Xiaofan was not annoyed. Instead, she turned around and looked at Zhao Lei expectantly. Look, I have told you the truth. Can you continue with your marriage with Xiaofang? Besides, you are so rich, don't give it $500,000. Xiao Wei can't do anything. Why don't you give him a few million and let him do some small business? Do you think it's okay? Marriage? Zhao Lei sneered and put the phone back in his pocket. I didn't say that if you tell the truth, I will definitely marry Zhou Xiaofang. What do you mean? Zhao Lei's words instantly made Zhou Wei's eyes widen. Li Xiaofan just confessed. It can be said that she has lost the face of the Zhou family for 18 generations. Such a great sacrifice is just to get his wife's book from Zhao Lei. At this time, Zhao Lei seemed to be going back on his word, so of course he was the first to disagree. You silly boy, how can you talk to your brother-in-law? Originally, Li Xiaofan was also dazed when she heard Zhao Lei's words, but soon, she put on that flattering face again, walked to Zhou Wei, and gave Zhou Wei a painless slap, and then said, Son-in-law, it's all my fault today, don't be angry with me, you said it depends on my performance. I just used this old face as a asterisk, are you still not satisfied? Li Xiaofan bowed and nodded in front of Zhao Lei like a beggar. Logically, people around her should pity her. At least, they should sympathize with her. But for some reason, seeing Li Xiaofan's appearance at this time, everyone at the wedding banquet was filled with a deep chill. Even a little nauseous. Satisfied, I'm very satisfied. I didn't expect that you could still do such a shameless thing at such an old age. Zhao Lei said with a fake smile. Li Xiaofan's facial expression instantly stiffened. However, Li Xiaofan's face was also terribly thick. In just a moment, she adjusted her state and said to Zhao Lei with a smile, then you said that you saw my performance, and now you are satisfied. It's almost done, let's continue the wedding. I said that I saw your performance, and I also said that I was satisfied with your performance. Zhao Lei sneered and said, but I didn't say that I must marry your daughter if I am satisfied? Gah! One sentence. The whole audience was silent after Zhao Lei said that. Originally, I thought Zhao Lei seemed a little unkind. But after listening to Zhao Lei's words, it seemed that there was really nothing wrong. People didn't say what to do to be satisfied. Everything was just Li Xiaofan's wishful thinking. High. It's really high. At the wedding banquet, many people secretly gave Zhao Lei a thumbs up. When he was in school, Zhao Lei was full of tricks. Only he could come up with such a wicked and smoking trick, and he used it on Li Xiaofan's family, which made people feel very happy. Li Xiaofan was completely dumbfounded after hearing what Zhao Lei said, and she stood aside and couldn't say a word. Zhao Lei, what do you mean? Seeing her mother being scolded by Zhao Lei like this, Zhou Xiaofang also pinched her waist and stood up. I tell you, Zhao Lei, you just need to make a fuss. My mother is like this, what else do you want? I tell you, if you keep making a fuss, I will really not marry you. Zhou Xiaofang and Zhao Lei have been in love for so many years. Zhao Lei can be said to be obedient to Zhou Xiaofang. Usually, as long as Zhou Xiaofang glares at him, Zhao Lei will definitely admit his mistakes. Since being pulled out by Zhao Lei just now, Zhou Xiaofang has always believed that Zhao Lei still wants to marry her. What she did just now was just a way to vent her anger. At this time, she stood up with the same momentum as before. In her opinion, given Zhao Lei's feelings for her, can't she do whatever she wants? Unfortunately, she was wrong this time. You really don't want to marry me, do you think I'm joking with you? Hearing Zhou Xiaofang's words, Zhao Lei just sneered and said, I just said in the room that I don't want to be a. You can fill the hole in your family by yourself if you want to fill it. Now, if you want to eat, eat here, if you don't want to eat, get out. The louder Zhao Lei spoke, the louder he was, and the last word get out was almost shouted out. Mr. Zhao, do you think you are glorious? At this time, Li Xiaofan also reacted, and a scream made everyone present frown. I tell you, today is a wedding banquet, do you think you are proud to eat alone? You dumped my Fong Fong, who else would like you? You are a villain, trash, waste. Do you think anyone wants you? Li Xiaofan was really a little crazy at this time. Just now, under the pressure of Zhao Lei's mobile phone balance, she threw her face into her crotch. A speech almost made their small family break away from the entire Zhou family system. Originally, I wanted to get money from Zhao Lei so that my son could become rich. But Zhao Lei's move of turning his face against her and not recognizing her stunned her completely. Is it a joke? Hearing Li Xiaofan's words, Zhao Lei also breathed a sigh of relief. A joke. Just a joke. Zhao Lei would rather become a laughingstock among his classmates and friends than fill the bottomless pit of the Zhou family. He would not gamble the rest of his life and marry a brother-supporting demon. Zhao Lei, it's okay. At this moment, Lin Shui came to Zhao Lei and gently held Zhao Lei's hand. No matter what decision you make, I support you. Xiao Shui. Zhao Lei turned his head and saw Lin Shui, and his heart moved. For so many years, he knew Lin Shui's feelings for him. It's just that Lin Shui's family background is too good, and he can't give Lin Shui anything, so he had to settle for the second best and chose Zhou Xiaofang. But now it's different. He is now the only heir to hundreds of billions of assets. Thinking of this, Zhao Lei took a deep breath and took out the diamond ring he had prepared long ago. Then, in the surprised eyes of everyone, he knelt on one knee in front of Lin Shui. Lin Shui, I was blind before, I fell in love with the brother-supporting demon. Now, I know who is the best girl in the world. I also understand that only that girl can give me real happiness. Now, I will kneel in front of that girl, you say. That girl, is she willing to marry me? Wow, in an instant, the whole hall burst into a low cry. No one expected that things would develop to this point today. At the wedding scene, the groom actually proposed to a woman other than the bride. Lei Zi is so fierce. Lei Zi, you have the confidence, today's matter brother supports you. Xiao Shui, what are you waiting for? Marry him. Marry him. Marry him. I don't know who shouted the first voice, and everyone followed and encouraged. In response to the shouts around him, Zhao Lei just smiled and looked at Lin Shui in front of him. If Lin Shui rejected him, he would not be surprised. After all, this was not a wedding prepared for Shui Lin. If Shui Lin rejected him, he would prepare a proposal scene for Shui Lin that was 100 times more grand than this one. Then, propose again. Why are you so stupid? Shui Lin looked at Zhao Lei kneeling in front of her and the diamond ring in Zhao Lei's hand. Tears welled up in her eyes. In the expectant eyes of everyone, she nodded vigorously. I declare. Zhao Lei put the wedding ring on Shui Lin, then stood up, picked up the microphone and said, the wedding continues. Good. Those present were all Zhao Lei's classmates and friends. They were also Lin Shui's classmates and friends. Many people had watched the two of them grow up bit by bit, and when they saw this scene, they all burst into cheers. As for the previous things, they were simply ignored. But just because they ignored them, it didn't mean that Li Xiaofan would ignore them. What's good? All of you shut up. A scream suppressed the atmosphere that had finally been created. Li Xiaofan pulled Zhou Xiaofang over. Zhao Lei, let me tell you, our Fangfang is your daughter-in-law, you changed her at the wedding, are you doing human things? And you vixen, did you know that my son-in-law is rich, so you have been bullying my son-in-law? How can there be such a cheap woman like you in the world? After talking about Zhao Lei, Li Xiaofan pointed at Lin Shui again, her finger almost on Lin Shui's nose. Pa! But this time, Li Xiaofan was only halfway through her words. She was interrupted by a clear slap. The whole audience fell silent instantly. Everyone's eyes widened. Li Xiaofan sat on the ground, covering her face, staring blankly at Zhao Lei who was standing in front of him and shaking his hands. Zhao Lei actually hit her. Mr. Zhao, you are a heartless thing. This made Li Xiaofan's hair explode instantly. She lay on the ground and started rolling. Boy, you dare to hit my mother. Zhou Wei also blared, rolled up his sleeves and was about to fight. You dare to fight me? But Zhao Lei slightly side-glanced, and a look instantly scared Zhou Wei back. He usually just played games, and his body was not much stronger than his mother, so how could he have the courage to fight? Try to cry again. A look scared Zhou Wei, and Zhao Lei walked directly in front of Li Xiaofan. Without saying anything extra, he raised his palm directly. Zhao Lei also understood. To deal with a robe like Li Xiaofan, you have to let her know fear and pain. This trick really works. Zhao Lei just raised his palm and Li Xiaofan was instantly scared silent. Looking at Zhao Lei standing in front of her, she was horrified. Crazy. This kid is crazy. He even beats people of her age. Mr. Zhao, you even beat your mother-in-law. Today's matter cannot be solved without 100. No, 5 million. If you don't give me the money, I will call the police. But soon, the desire for money defeated the fear. Li Xiaofan hugged Zhao Lei's thigh and cried, Look, everyone, the son-in-law beats the mother-in-law. Is this what a human being does? I won't live anymore. This life is unbearable. The people around looked at Li Xiaofan, and their scalps tingled. Looking at Zhao Lei, they also showed sympathetic eyes. For a mother-in-law like this, regretting the marriage 10,000 times is not a light punishment. You asked for it. Zhao Lei sneered and raised his hand to hit her. If it was before, even if Zhao Lei was angry, he would never be so reckless. He has always been rational in doing things, partly because of his maturity, but more because he has no ability to bear the consequences. But now, everything is different. He, Zhao Lei, is now the only heir to Tianyuan Group. With the power of Tianyuan Group in the city, Zhao Lei believed that as long as he did not kill or set fire, there would be nothing that could not be solved. Zhao Lei. However, just as Zhao Lei's hand was about to hit, it was held back by another delicate hand. Looking back, Zhao Lei saw Lin Shui's gentle eyes, Forget it, I don't care, as long as I can marry you, nothing else matters. In an instant, Zhao Lei's heart was deeply touched. The wedding is undoubtedly the most important moment in a girl's life. But at this time, Lin Shui was still thinking about herself when Li Xiufen made such a fuss. Such a good girl, I actually let her down for so long. Looking back now, choosing Zhou Xiaofang was simply a stupid decision. Don't worry, Xiuxue, today is your wedding with me, I won't let you suffer any grievances. Since you are already my woman, I will protect you from any bullying. Zhao Lei smiled and patted Lin Shui's head, causing Lin Shui's eyes to redden instantly. After suppressing her emotions for so many years, at this moment, Lin Shui felt that it was all worth it. Well, with a gentle agreement, Lin Shui stood beside Zhao Lei. Marry a chicken, follow the chicken, marry a dog, follow the dog. Now that the decision has been made, no matter what decision Zhao Lei makes, she will bear it together with Zhao Lei. Pa! A loud slap. Li Xiufen's crying stopped abruptly. She looked at Zhao Lei in front of her with a dazed face. Today is the wedding of Lin Shui and me, Lin Shui is my wife. I feel guilty for not giving her a perfect wedding, so I won't let her suffer any more grievances. Today's wedding banquet, if you want to eat, eat, if you don't want to eat. At this point, Zhao Lei's momentum also rose, if you don't want to eat, get out of here. Wow, so domineering, if there is a man who protects me like this, I will definitely marry him immediately. Lei is domineering, this kind of scum must be dealt with like this. Get out quickly. Zhao Lei's declaration immediately resonated with everyone. Most of Zhou's relatives had left, and only Zhao Lei's friends and classmates were left, and they all naturally stood on Zhao Lei's side. A burst of booing made Li Xiufen's red and swollen face turn blue and white. Okay. Li Xiufen pulled a long face and squeezed out 3 good words from her teeth. Zhao, you wait, if you don't marry my daughter today and don't give me money, I won't let you have a good time even if I don't want my life. I will call the police now. You beat the elderly. When the police come, you can tell the police. As she said that, Li Xiufen pulled Zhou Xiaofang out of the hotel and called the police immediately. After that, they waited at the door of the hotel. Hey, why is this bride at the door of the hotel? At this wedding banquet, Zhou Xiaofang, a girl standing at the door of the hotel in a wedding dress, naturally caused a lot of discussion. You don't know, I heard from others that the bride can be so mixed up, and it has to be said that she has a good mother, and she raised the bride price for her younger brother at the time of marriage. Isn't that a brother-supporting demon? She deserves it. Passers-by soon gathered in a circle, pointing and talking, which made Zhou Xiaofang burst into tears. Mom, let's go home. I beg you, I can't embarrass myself anymore. Go home? Where will you get the money for your brother's wedding? What's so embarrassing about that? Li Xiufen glared at him, are you stupid? Zhao Lei broke off the engagement, and we are right. You know nothing. When you see that vixen Lin Shui, you have to act like a legitimate wife. Didn't Zhao Lei beat me? You beat Lin Shui the same way he beat me. And you, what are you looking at? Li Xiufen really threw her face into her crotch at this time, and stood at the door of the hotel and started to curse like a shrew. After she made such a fuss, the number of onlookers did not decrease, but increased. After asking each other about what happened, they surrounded Zhou Xiaofang and pointed at her. Mom, I beg you, let's go home. Do you want me to beg Zhao Lei to marry me? Zhou Xiaofang collapsed, her voice choked with sobs. She should have had a grand wedding. She should have been the heroine in the story. But now, she is here and being looked down upon by others. She didn't want to stay any longer. She really couldn't afford to lose face with this person. You know nothing, I told you, we are right in this matter. Seeing that Zhou Xiaofang was about to leave, Li Xiufen pulled her daughter back. At this time, anyone can leave, but Zhou Xiaofang can't. If Zhou Xiaofang left, who would she point to sell to Zhao Lei for money? Hello, did you report the case? At this time, the police also arrived at the scene. Because the mother and her 2 children were so eye-catching, it was difficult for the police to find the wrong person. Comrade police, you are here. Seeing the police, Li Xiufen cried again, with snot and tears. If you don't know, you really think she has suffered a lot of injustice. Auntie, do you think we can go in and talk? The police looked at Li Xiufen and felt a headache. After persuading her, they were finally persuaded by Li Xiufen, and then they were pulled back to the hotel. But Li Xiufen didn't know. Just a few minutes after she entered the hotel, a Rolls-Royce drove to the door of the hotel. The car door opened, and a young beauty and a middle-aged man got out. Secretary Zhang, what's our young master's temper like? I don't know. The beauty looked up at the hotel, shook her head and said, but Mr. Zhao only has this one son, so let's get things done quickly. As she spoke, the beauty and the man also walked quickly into the hotel. Wow, in the hotel, the wedding was still going on. Without the family of Li Xiaofan and Zhou Xiaofang, the wedding process was much more cheerful. At this time, Zhao Lei was playing the apple-biting game with Lin Shui under the encouragement of a group of classmates and friends. A group of friends just gathered there and watched. There was also one who was playing the most, holding an apple with a string. This game is all about the atmosphere. Every time the bride and groom tried to bite the apple was hung up, and the couple might kiss each other. For this group of young people who were bored, it was definitely a good opportunity to join in the fun. Lin Shui had already put on her bridal makeup at this time. Although she was wearing a pink bridesmaid dress, it did not affect her beauty at all. Every time her mouth touched the corner of Zhao Lei's mouth, the classmates and friends around would cheer and shout, which also made Lin Shui blush. Zhao Lei looked at Lin Shui's appearance and kept grinning. This is a wedding. Li Xiaofan's family, it's more like a daughter auction. Comrade police, I tell you, it was him, this ungrateful who hit me. You can see the handprints on my face were made by him. However, in such a happy time, there will always be someone who stands up to disgust others. We are having fun here. Li Xiaofan's annoying voice rang out. In an instant, the faces of everyone present became much gloomier. That old shrew actually had the nerve to stay here and not leave? Everyone looked sideways at the place where their eyes were looking. Li Xiaofan was talking to the police with saliva flying, while desperately pulling her daughter Zhou Xiaofang into the hotel. Oh, that's what happened, then. Please slow down. The two young policemen were also confused by the scene in front of them. Seeing a girl with bridal makeup refusing to enter the wedding hotel, and having to be dragged by her mother, this scene is also rare. Zhou Xiaofang's thin arms were even pulled out by Li Xiaofan. As for what Li Xiaofan said, they didn't listen carefully. Police comrade, it's him. He's the one who beat me. You can't let this scum go unpunished. It's better to arrest him and sentence him to several years. As they were talking, Li Xiaofan and the police had already arrived in front of Zhao Lei and Lin Shui. Zhao Lei frowned. He didn't expect Li Xiaofan to be so shameless that she actually called the police. Li Xiaofan looked at Zhao Lei's gloomy face, and the wrinkles on her face were squeezed together. You want to give up my daughter? No way. If you don't get married today, I won't get my son's money. If I make you happy, I will write the word Li upside down. Hello? The police were also licking their teeth. It's not like they haven't encountered civil disputes before. Fights have also been mediated. But it was the first time that so many classmates stared at them with gloomy faces at the wedding scene. But since they are here, they have to deal with this matter, right? After taking a quick look around, an older policeman took out his ID and showed it to Zhao Lei, saying, Sir, this lady called the police and said that you beat her. We are here to investigate. Did you lay hands on this lady? Looking at Li Xiaofan's face like a shrew, and then looking at the polite Zhao Lei. The police were basically on the verge of disbelief about this matter. Especially the eyes of Zhao Lei's classmates and friends around him made the police feel like a thorn in their backs. They wanted to leave here quickly and let the wedding go on. After all, no one would be in a good mood if they were disturbed in such an occasion. The police had even thought about it. As long as Zhao Lei answered no, they would just ask a few more questions and then retreat directly, but soon, the police became depressed. Yes, I slapped him on the face. Zhao Lei nodded. As a man, he always believed in daring to do and dare to take responsibility, and no matter how big the matter was, he was in the right. So even when facing the police, Zhao Lei was not panicked at all. Sir, what's the matter? Do you want to lay hands on an old man? The police twitched the corner of his mouth. At this time, even if he was unwilling, the investigation had to continue. This is my wedding. This lady made a lot of noise at my wedding. I tried to stop her, but she didn't listen. Because it affected my wedding, I suspected that she had bad intentions and might have threatened my personal safety. So I was just acting in self-defense. Although people's legal awareness has improved, they still don't understand some details. But unfortunately, Zhao Lei is not one of those people. He knows very well the definition of self-defense in various countries. Today is his wedding, which can be defined as his private place. Li Xiaofan made a lot of noise in his private place, which can be defined as having bad intentions. In the United States, if you have a gun license, it is even possible to pull out a gun. Sir, is that really the case? After listening to Zhao Lei's brief account of the incident, the two policemen also turned around and looked at Li Xiaofan with contempt. These days, this kind of mother-in-law who is obsessed with money is the public enemy of men. Especially since the two policemen are single, the income from the police profession is not high, and they are also hostile to mothers-in-law like Li Xiaofan. Do I need to lie to you? Zhao Lei shrugged. No, police comrade, he hit me. Li Xiaofan saw that the two policemen were about to withdraw, and she was furious. I'm telling you, police comrade, no matter what I do, he hit me. I'm so old and I have heart disease, you can't let him go so easily. Oh my heart is so uncomfortable now. As she said that, Li Xiaofan cried out in pain, covered her chest and knelt on the ground, and was about to shout again, I'm telling you, you policemen are the ones who make decisions for the people. Today I was bullied. If you see that Lin's daughter is rich, you will side with them. We ordinary people will not do that. I will complain to the Public Security Bureau about you. I will find the leaders and the TV station to expose you. The onlookers almost cursed at the same time. While they deeply despised Li Xiaofan, they also admired her a little. From what she said just now, this old woman even threatened the police. If you dare to threaten even the police, is there anything else you dare not do? Auntie, please stand up first. The young police officer was worried about the lawsuit, but for the sake of the police's image, he could not do anything. He could only grit his teeth and help Li Xiaofan up. Now he is very considerate of Zhao Lei. If he was not wearing a police uniform, he would have slapped Li Xiaofan out of the hotel. After pondering for a while, seeing that Li Xiaofan was about to kneel on the ground again, the police hurriedly said, I'm sorry, Mr. Zhao, we may have to collect some simple evidence. Zhao Lei. Lin Shui is a girl after all, and she is a little nervous in front of the police. At this time, she quietly grabbed Zhao Lei's hand. Zhao Lei noticed that Lin Shui was a little nervous, turned around and gave Lin Shui a reassuring smile. His smile seemed to have magic, which made Lin Shui, who was originally uneasy, instantly feel confident. No problem. Zhao Lei also knew that this was the duty of the police, and shrugged his shoulders and said, my classmates and friends, and even the Zhou family relatives who just left, can serve as witnesses, and the hotel has surveillance, you two can investigate. But, Zhao Lei's expression became serious as he changed the subject. Comrade police, I understand your work, and you have to understand me. Today is the most important day in my life. I can go to the police station with you, but can you wait for me to finish the wedding? So many things happened today, and I didn't give my wife a perfect wedding. I feel very sorry for her. Brother Lei, I'm not wronged. As long as I can marry you, I don't care what happens. Hearing Zhao Lei's words, Lin Shui's eyes were filled with tears in an instant. She finally didn't make a mistake. No problem with this. The police looked at the handsome couple and nodded. Zhao Lei's request was too common sense. The police couldn't think of any reason to refuse. No. But before the police finished speaking, Li Xiaofan jumped out with a bang. The agile figure didn't look like an old woman in her 60s at all. How do you policemen do things? He beat me and let him finish the wedding. We must take him to the police station immediately. Li Xiaofan's eyes were red, and she seemed very excited. At this time, she had only one thought. Zhao Lei and Lin Shui must not be allowed to get married. After the marriage, the matter would be a done deal. Then Zhou Xiaofang would basically have nothing to do? Without Zhou Xiaofang, how could she get Zhao Lei's money? Zhao Lei stood aside, clenching his fists. If the police were not here, he would have slapped Li Xiaofan twice and kicked her out. Look, what kind of car is that? It's so awesome. Just when the atmosphere was extremely gloomy, someone who was bored shouted, attracting everyone's attention to the outside. Since the hotel has very high-end floor-to-ceiling windows, you can clearly see the outside of the hotel in the lobby. At this time, at the intersection, a Rolls-Royce was slowly driving over. This is a Rolls-Royce. I saw this style on the station live broadcast 2 days ago. This is the latest model today, and only 10 are released worldwide. Oh my god, if I can get on this car and sit for a while, I would shoot my dad. Li Xiaofan looked at the Rolls-Royce outside and instantly forgot to cry. She wanted to dig out her eyeballs and throw them on the car. In an instant, everyone in the hotel was attracted by this Rolls-Royce, but forgot about Zhao Lei's side. Soon, the car stopped at the door of the hotel. A middle-aged man with glasses and a long-legged beauty got out of the car. Miss Duan? The two policemen were stunned at the same time. These people didn't know the person in the car, but they did. That person was an absolute top executive of Tianyuan Group, and she was one of the top 10 beauties in the city. What was this person doing in a place like this? Oh my god, this Rolls-Royce has stopped at the door of the hotel. Look, that woman is so beautiful. If something could happen with her, my mother would live decades less. Everyone frowned and glanced at the young man who was shouting. They thought to themselves that this guy was really cruel. In such a short time, both parents were killed. Oh my god, is she coming to the hotel? Would someone who drives a Rolls-Royce come to a hotel like this? Everyone was stunned. They are all people struggling at the bottom of society, but it is precisely because they are struggling at the bottom of society that they yearn for the upper class and go to learn about it when they have nothing to do. They know that this kind of hotel may be very good in the eyes of ordinary people like them. But in the eyes of people who can afford a Rolls-Royce, it is nothing at all. Snap! Dad Ada. The door of the hotel was pushed open. Duan Siener looked around and walked quickly towards Zhao Lei. The high heels knocked on the ground, making a very regular sound. Miss Duan. The two policemen had served as security work in some occasions where city leaders and Tianyuan Group cooperated, and had met Duan Siener once. In their opinion, they might be the only ones who could say a few words to Duan Siener. Seeing Duan Siener walking straight towards them, the two policemen quickly tidied up their appearance. Although they knew that Duan Siener would not look at them directly because of their identity and profession, they still wanted to leave a good impression in front of the beauty. At this time, looking at Duan Siener who was coming towards him, the older policeman even stretched out his hand. But then, a scene that shocked everyone happened. Duan Siener didn't stop at all and walked directly in front of Zhao Lei. She bowed slightly and uttered two words in a voice like a silver bell. "Young master." Ka. In an instant, the whole audience was struck by lightning, and many people's jaws almost dropped to the ground. Such a beautiful woman actually called someone young master right away? Miss Duan. Miss Duan, calling this guy young master? Then he, isn't he? Compared to the deception of the crowd, the shock of the two policemen was even stronger. The one who could make Miss Duan call him young master. Isn't he the young master of Tianyuan Group, master? The young policeman was the first to react, and pulled the old policeman, saying, "I didn't do anything out of line just now. Didn't I anger the young master of Tianyuan Group? I shouldn't, we seemed to be quite polite just now." The old policeman was also sweating coldly at this time. The scenes from the beginning of the meeting with Zhao Lei were like a movie replayed in his mind. He was also recalling whether he had angered Zhao Lei. He couldn't help but be nervous. But if Zhao Lei was really the young master of Tianyuan Group, then this identity would be too prominent. You know, Tianyuan Group supports half of the province's economic development. Even the governor has to be polite to Mr. Zhao. If they offend Zhao Lei and cause Tianyuan Group's investment to decrease, then stripping off this police uniform is not the lightest punishment. Brother Lei, who is she? Looking at Duan Siener, whose figure and appearance are not inferior to hers, Lin Shui showed a nervous look for the first time. It was not easy to catch Zhao Lei, and she didn't want Zhao Lei to be remembered by other women so soon. "Wait, I'll explain it to you." After hearing Duan Siener's voice, Zhao Lei knew who he was, but this was obviously not something that could be explained in just a few words. At this time, he patted the back of Lin Shui's hand, turned around and said, "Why are you here?" "Young master." Duan Siener was very respectful and said, "Mr. Zhao is not going to live long now. He personally asked me to complete the property handover as soon as possible. It would be best if you can go to the hospital to see him. You can go, and you can hand it over." Zhao Lei stroked his forehead and said with a headache, "But I have to go to the police station later." "Let's do these things tomorrow." "Go to the police station?" Duan Siener was stunned, and then he noticed that there were two policemen standing on the side. It would have been better if Duan Siener didn't look at it. At this time, the two policemen stood at attention subconsciously. "I'm sorry, my young master has important things to deal with and can't accompany you to the police station." Looking at the police, Duan Siener frowned slightly and said, "If you have anything, you can talk to our Tianyuan Group's exclusive lawyer." "Young master, I'm happy to serve you." As he spoke, the middle-aged man behind Duan Siener stood up directly. Zhao Lei learned that this guy was the exclusive lawyer of his cheap father Fang Hao. At that moment, Zhao Lei told Fang Hao everything that had happened. Zhao Lei was relieved to have someone like this to help him deal with these headaches. "Okay, Zhao Lei, it turns out that you have more than one vixen. Here's another one." Li Xiaofan, who hadn't reacted just now, jumped out again, and her finger almost pointed at Zhao Lei's nose. "Are you Li Xiaofan?" Before Zhao Lei could speak, Fang Hao took over the conversation. He had been a powerful figure for so many years, and he had plenty of ways to deal with such a scoundrel. "Yes, I am Li Xiaofan. You are a lawyer, right? I tell you, don't even think about helping Zhao Lei get away with it. Don't even think about getting away with it unless he pays a few million." "Get away with it?" Fang Hao sneered, adjusted his glasses and said, "Our young master didn't break any law, why should he get away with it? I'm here to tell you, I'm going to sue you. Your daughter didn't marry the young master, and you're still holding the betrothal gift, which constitutes illegal possession of other people's property. I'm only suing you on behalf of Tianyuan Group. Go home and wait for the court summons." In an instant, Li Xiaofan froze in place. Is it so great to be rich? My daughter is the principal wife. What does this vixen who robbed her mean? I will never return the betrothal gift. Everyone present despised her. On the surface, she was doing good to her daughter, but her last sentence still exposed her true nature. Fang Hao was unmoved and didn't want to pay any attention to this shrew. He turned his back to Zhao Lei and said, "Master, please rest assured to hold the wedding. Secretary Duan and I will take care of the things here." Li Jifan naturally couldn't let them get what they wanted. She rolled up her sleeves, revealing the greasy flesh on her arms. With a slight movement, the flesh trembled constantly, perfectly interpreting the shortcomings of middle-aged women. Since no one helped her, she must fight Zhao Lei to the death here today. My daughter's matter must not be let go like this. I will expose you. When the police noticed, she had already grabbed the broken glass with her claws and ran towards Zhao Lei. Zhao Lei frowned, speechless to this woman, and subconsciously dodged to the side. Unexpectedly, before he could react, Li Jifan was suddenly grabbed by a force behind him. It was Zhou Xiaofang. "Mom, let's go home. I can't afford to lose face. What kind of trouble are you going to cause to our family?" Fortunately, she still had some self-knowledge. Zhou Xiaofang hugged Li Jifan with all her strength, tears streaming down her face. "Officer, please. Take my mother away." The two young policemen looked at each other. The girl had indeed been crying and wanted to leave since she was outside the door just now. She didn't look like the passers-by who despised her. What are you waiting for?" Duan Xiener smiled politely, but her voice sounded cold. The two were so scared that they trembled all over, and without saying a word, they grabbed Li Jifan and walked out. "Don't worry, we will definitely solve it." Zhao Lei nodded, and was satisfied with Duan Xiener's speed of doing things. He didn't dare to imagine that he would be so proud now, and he couldn't help feeling relieved. "The wedding will continue." "Zhao Lei, wait a minute." Zhou Xiaofang felt a pain in her heart. She was unwilling. "If I don't care about Zhou Wei, can we still get married?" Zhou Wei, who was suddenly named, was unhappy this time. He yelled loudly and wanted to grab his sister's hair and beat her. "Are you still my sister? Do you not want us because you have money? You should give me money, and don't even think about getting rid of me in your life." Zhao Lei sighed. Before getting married, he never found their family so terrible. And Zhou Xiaofang was not worthy of sympathy. She just didn't want to lose such an obedient cash cow. "From the moment I proposed to you just now, there was only Lin Shui in my eyes and heart." Zhao Lei's tone was firm. The only person who could make him miss her in the morning and hate her so much in the afternoon was Zhou Xiaofang. From now on, he would only protect Lin Shui. Seeing his resolute attitude, coupled with Zhou Wei's yelling, Zhou Xiaofang glared at everyone present fiercely, and then left with Zhou Wei unwillingly. Several plague gods left together, and Lin Shui breathed a sigh of relief. She was so scared that Zhao Lei had hesitated just now. Zhao Lei saw what she was thinking, patted her hands gently, and held her face tenderly. "Shui, I'm sorry for making you feel wrong today. Don't worry, I will quickly replan a proposal ceremony. We will start all over again and you will be with me till we grow old together." This touching confession moved everyone, and gradually, ambiguous slogans came from the crowd. "Kiss. Kiss." Lin Shui shyly lowered her head, her cheeks flushed, and she had some small expectations in her heart. The apples that had not been used up before were brought to the two of them at once, and there was a lot of cheering at the scene. Hurry up, why are you still shy after getting married? It really makes us anxious." "The emperor is not anxious, but the is. Don't scare my wife away." Zhao Lei jokingly pushed his brother, and with his other hand, he carefully blocked Lin Shui from external harm. Lin Shui's heart warmed up, and she wanted to muster up the courage to kiss him, but because of the girl's reserve, she didn't kiss him for a long time. The people around looked anxious, and one of them pressed the heads of the two people from one side to the middle. "Kiss me now." "Oh." With soft and sweet lips, Zhao Lei laughed like a fool, and then immediately said seriously, "I should take the initiative in this matter." The little girl shyly threw herself into his arms, her eyes rolling, and her heart was pounding. The next moment, her chin was slightly lifted up, and her eyes looked directly at the man she had secretly loved for many years. The man asked her affectionately, "Can I kiss you?" Lin Shui's heart was pounding, and she nodded heavily. She was willing. Many pink bubbles immediately appeared around the two of them, making others envious. Although Duan Xiener did not grow up with the young master, she was also very excited and relieved at this moment. It felt like my son had grown up, and she was very happy for the master. If the Zhao family's industry is inherited by such a child, then there is no need to worry that the Zhao family will be submerged early in the future. "Young master." The two people who were having fun heard this voice and turned their heads to look at her together. Zhao Lei asked doubtfully, is there anything else? If you want to see my father, you have to wait a little longer. Duan Xiener shook her head and took out a bunch of keys from her bag and handed them to him. This is the key to the new Rolls-Royce. It is a gift from your father. We didn't know you were getting married today. The wedding gift will be delivered later. The cold and pleasant voice bombarded the whole audience at once. The brother who just said that his parents would live a few years less was so excited that he was trembling all over. Oh my God! My wish is going to come true so soon. Let me touch the car. Suddenly I feel a little sorry for my parents. Zhao Lei was also surprised. He was dumbfounded by so much pocket money before, and now he was given a luxury car worth tens of millions. No, I've given enough today. This gift is too big. As if she had expected what Zhao Lei was going to say, Duan Xiener held his hand with the key and pushed it back forcefully. This is not a gift from me, it's a gift from your father. You and the master have been separated for many years, and this is what you deserve. Besides, there will be more for you to inherit in the future, so this is nothing. Zhao Lei blinked, as if this was indeed the case. He smiled embarrassedly, scratched his head, then put the key back into his pocket and nodded to her. Swear, you will be my co-pilot from now on. Okay. Lin Shui had tears in her eyes. The first step to get the key is of course to please his wife, but his brother refused. Hey, you are too partial. I have sworn a poisonous oath, and you still won't let me touch you, that's too much. Haha, you unfilial son, can you still live if your parents hear it? The laughter filled the entire lobby, and Zhao Lei's heart was in turmoil. In the hospital, Lin Shui was wearing a bridesmaid dress and a men's jacket. Her eyebrows were slightly wrinkled. She was holding Zhao Lei's hand and sweating. She was very nervous. Brother Lei, is it not good to bring me with you to see your uncle? To be honest, Zhao Lei was also very panicked now. After being an orphan for so many years, suddenly such a rich father appeared out of thin air. It was too much like a dream. But no matter what, he couldn't make Lin Shui feel uneasy. You are his daughter-in-law, you should call him dad. He smiled knowingly, and Lin Shui's heart was relieved. The heart hanging in her throat was relieved a lot. 2 blushes appeared on her pretty face. As the two were talking, Duan Xiener, who was walking in front, stopped, paused, and stretched out her hand to lead the way for the two. This is Mr. Zhao's ward, please. Zhao Lei took a deep breath quietly, and was about to meet the person he could only see on TV. Then, he carefully lowered his voice and stepped into the ward filled with the smell of medicine. The people in the room seemed to sense it, slowly propping up their heavy eyelids, and said in a hoarse voice that only an old person could, "Is she here?" Zhao Lei was stunned. I'm here. How have you been living alone for so many years? A dying old man was lying on the bed, with few wrinkles on his face and gray hair. He was not as vigorous as before, but his serious expression still had an aura that made Zhao Lei feel oppressed. Not bad, Zhao Lei answered softly, for fear of disturbing him. The old man saw the child he hadn't seen for a long time, and there was no smile on his face, which really made him uncomfortable, and the unfamiliarity was pulled out all of a sudden. However, he still gently pulled Lin Shui behind him to the side and introduced, "This is Lin Shui, my wife." "Uncle. Dad." Zhao Wenshan nodded with effort. He has been alone for so many years, and now he has a son and daughter-in-law, which is not bad. Then, he looked at his ignorant son with clear eyes. Zhao Lei immediately understood what he meant, forced a smile, and followed suit and called out, "Dad." The old man then retracted his gaze and closed his eyes peacefully. He didn't say anything, and neither did Zhao Lei and Lin Shui. The two of them waited quietly, not in a hurry to ask about the property. The light from the window shone on him, and the cold ward was brighter. After a long time, Zhao Wenshan closed his eyes and said, "Xiener should have told you everything, right?" "Yes." "Then take the contract next to me and sign it." The document was placed in the most conspicuous position, and Zhao Lei saw it at a glance. "It's a will. All my property will be transferred to your account after my death," Zhao Wenshan said. After a lifetime of hard work, he hadn't enjoyed enough, and now he had to hand it over to other little bastards. To be honest, he didn't feel very comfortable. Zhao Lei flipped through the documents and looked at the inheritance, his cheeks flushed. So much money. This, all for me alone? Do you want to do another appraisal, in case the hospital made a mistake? Zhao Wenshan shook his head. It was impossible to be wrong. He didn't believe it at the time and did repeated identifications before he was sure that there was someone to succeed him. Don't be too happy too soon. The money won't be given to you so easily. You have to meet one condition of mine first. The condition is written at the end of the contract. This is more like it. If it is given unconditionally, Zhao Lei doesn't want to take it. After all, it's not his own thing. However, after reading the contract carefully, he was even more speechless. What kind of condition is this? To obtain all the property of Mr. Zhao Wenshan, you must spend all 1 billion within half a month. After the task is completed, you can receive all the life income of Mr. Zhao. Before that, Mr. Zhao Wenshan will not announce the true identity of Mr. Zhao Lei to the public, and Mr. Zhao Lei cannot take over the Zhao family business before completing the task. Spending money is also a task? Zhao Lei has learned a lot. Even if he can't spend the 1 billion within half a month and can't take over other family businesses, the money he has given before is enough for him to do a good job. The task hasn't started yet, and he is already planning the worst outcome. Old man Zhao frowned, and there were more wrinkles on his forehead. He was very dissatisfied with Zhao Lei's useless look. It was just a few dollars, but he was so happy. Sign if you agree. If you don't agree, leave. My property can also be used for charity. I just donate it. I don't want my life's hard work to go to waste. It's a pity. The old man was a little angry. Lin Shui was more considerate. She immediately came up to calm him down and comforted him softly. Dad, don't be angry. Brother Lei is just not used to it for a while. He has been very capable over the years and will definitely produce results that will satisfy you. She was also a little selfish. She was afraid that if Zhao Lei went back like this, her parents would not agree to their marriage and would definitely force them to divorce. Zhao Lei naturally understood what she meant. However, she did not immediately appease Zhao Wenshan like she did, but asked the doubts in her heart, if I don't complete the task, will the money be taken back? Zhao Wenshan did not speak. Seeing this, Duan Xiener stepped forward from the corner and explained, if the task is not completed, the money will still belong to the young master, and I will give the young master living expenses every month in the future. You are a descendant of the Zhao family, so I can't treat you badly and let others laugh at you. Zhao Lei blinked. This treatment was too good. Happiness came too suddenly. He really couldn't believe it. He couldn't help but pinched his thigh hard. Of course, the result was that he screamed in pain. The two beauties covered their mouths and laughed. It hurts in dreams? I married a beautiful wife and inherited a huge fortune. Did I buy a cheat when I was sleepwalking? Lin Shui chuckled and patted him, indicating that he should hurry up to reply to Mr. Zhao's choice, otherwise Mr. Zhao would be unhappy. Zhao Lei reacted and pondered for a while. Suddenly, as if he had made a great decision, he took a deep breath and said, no matter what the outcome is, I won't suffer any loss. I might as well give it a try. It's just that I've never had so much money before. I'm not sure if I can spend it all in half a month. I'll try my best. He said he would try his best, but his face was full of smiles. It was worth it that he had worked so hard for so many years. God must have thought that he was too hard, so he tried every means to save him. He didn't care at all that he couldn't take over Tianyuan Group for the time being. Please sign it quickly. Okay. Zhao Lei agreed readily, took the pen handed over by Duan Xiener, moved his wrist, and wrote his name in 2 strokes. Just 1 minute after signing the contract, Zhao Lei's phone vibrated. He looked at the text message on the screen, his eyes widened. Your account balance is 1,000,000,000. Duan Xiener smiled and said, don't be surprised, this is a done deal, so I transferred the money to you in advance, and it just happened to arrive now. Zhao Lei nodded woodenly. What else can I say? Awesome. Don't worry, I will definitely not let you down. Zhao Wenshan propped up his eyelids again, and seeing his confident look, he finally smiled a little. The two said goodbye to Zhao Wenshan and left the ward. They had other things to do. There were no people in the corridor of the hospital at the moment, only the TV hanging on the wall was tirelessly broadcasting today's news. Today, the chairman of Tianyuan Group fell ill, and the group is temporarily managed by Miss Duan Xiener. Apart from that, it was very quiet. Lin Shui and Zhao Lei were both very confused. They were in a daze in the corridor and only came to their senses when they heard the report. The Zhao family is really fast. I just signed the documents and they are already reporting here. Didn't Miss Duan just say that everything is under their control? Lin Shui said. Now everything is settled and no one can separate them. Lin Shui's smile is very contagious, but Zhao Lei shook his head. We are still 1 step away. The little girl tilted her head, a little confused. Although uncle and aunt have always loved me, you are their daughter after all. You must be the first in everything. They will not allow you to marry the old me. Zhao Lei paused, and seeing that Lin Shui wanted to comfort herself, he immediately stretched out his finger to block her mouth. You don't have to say anything. Today is different from the past. I will prove to them myself that you are the only person I want to protect in my life. Lin Shui nodded with emotion. This man is really too responsible. Fortunately, she has never given up. Facts have proved that she has never made a mistake. Zhao Lei was in a very good mood. He suddenly picked up Lin Shui and carried her horizontally. He was smiling all the way and easily carried her to the passenger seat of the car. Afterwards, he quietly transferred a sum of money to Duan Sienna outside the car and sent her a WeChat message to ask her to help him do something. Zhao Lei, Miss Duan, please help me choose the best villa in the city to buy, as well as a luxury car and a new card. Duan Sienna, okay. She is a professional person and will not easily ask the boss's reasons for doing things. But these reasons can be easily guessed. They are all betrothal gifts to Lin's parents. Lin Shui is not as ignorant as Zhou Xiaofang, so she must be given the best and must not be treated unfairly. However, Lin Shui didn't know these things. A little head popped out of the car window, and the little girl asked delicately, "Why don't you get in the car?" Zhao Lei just lit a cigarette and took a puff. Seeing that Lin Shui accidentally choked, he immediately threw the cigarette to the ground and stepped on it. "I'll be right there. Where are we going? What time is it now? Are your parents asleep?" "No, they told me to go home today. They should still be waiting for me." Zhao Lei nodded and stopped talking. He drove all the way to the supermarket entrance and walked in holding Lin Shui's hand. "Let's go buy some things and visit the two elders." She had already guessed Zhao Lei's thoughts and followed him obediently without any rebuttal. He looked so handsome when he was choosing things seriously. However, as soon as the two of them came out of the supermarket with a bunch of gifts, they met a sneaky man. Under the dim light, the man wore glasses and looked gentle. But at this moment, he was hunched over and quietly approached Zhao Lei's car. "Let's go over quickly." Lin Shui was anxious and jumped up and down, but Zhao Lei held her back and prepared to observe first. The man walked around the car and looked left and right with a sneaky look. He didn't take out his mobile phone until he was sure that no one was looking at him. He took out his mobile phone from his pocket and secretly took a photo with the car. Zhao Lei was speechless. It was just taking a photo. Is it necessary to make it look like stealing? Seeing this, he took Lin Shui's hand and simply walked over. Unexpectedly, when the two were about to arrive, the four-eyed man took pictures and stood up and spit on the car viciously. Disgusting. The two could even smell the bad breath from a distance. Zhao Lei ran forward and grabbed his collar. "What are you doing?" The four-eyed man was so scared that he trembled all over. He subconsciously put his hands on his head, fearing that he would be beaten. No, let's talk it over." Seeing his cowardly look, Zhao Lei angrily threw off his collar. The four-eyed man carefully let go of his hand and looked at Zhao Lei from bottom to top. He found that he didn't look like the owner of the car at all. At most, he was just a kind person passing by. At this moment, courage came immediately. He straightened his chest and faced Zhao Lei. "Who are you? Why are you meddling in other people's business when you are so poor? Be careful or I will beat you up." Zhao Lei sneered, staring at him fiercely. "Try beating one up." Sion swallowed his saliva, took a step back, and said, "Why are you so arrogant? This car is not yours, get out of the way." "Don't get in my way." "It's not mine, so is it?" Zhao Lei asked. Yes. This is mine, what's wrong? If you are not convinced, you can earn money to buy one. Why are you pretending here? If you don't leave, I will call people. Sue you for assaulting a citizen. He stuttered, and he didn't know where he got the confidence from, and he just pulled his face off and put it in his trouser pocket. This man is a rogue, and Lin Shui was so angry that she clenched her delicate hands. She wanted to help but was stopped by Zhao Lei. You can't argue with such a disgusting person like a fly. There are only two ways. One is to ignore him, and the other is to tell him to shut up. Zhao Lei is not as uncultured as him. Silently, he took out a tissue from his bag and wiped the spit off the car bit by bit. Then, under Sion's eyes, he took out the car keys. He waved the keys in front of Sion, and for a moment he didn't know what to say. This was the best evidence to make him shut up. However, he was obviously full and still refused to give up. He pouted and laughed disdainfully. "Tisk, what's so great about having the key? Look at your clothes, do you look like someone who can afford this car? You must have borrowed someone else's car. If I hadn't been too slow and didn't get it, would you still have the right to show off now?" Zhao Lei frowned and was very annoyed by the boasting. Lin Shueka couldn't help it, pinching her waist and accusing, "How can you talk like that? It's too much." Sion wanted to retort, but Zhao Lei pushed him to the ground. "Shut your stinky mouth. If you make my wife unhappy again, I can't guarantee that you can go home safely today." Sion was as weak as a woman, and Zhao Lei felt that he didn't use much strength. However, he was originally tall and muscular, the kind of person that girls felt very safe. In addition, he had experienced a lot today, and his personality changed a lot in one day. If this kind of thing happened in the past, he would not be so tough. After all, passers-by on the roadside are not to be messed with casually. But things are different now. Cyan spit and glared at him with disdain. Who do you think you are? Zhao Lei was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, and protected Lin Shui to get into the car. Seeing that he was still lying on his car, he kicked him away with one foot. Don't make me repeat it again. That's it. He opened the car door directly, started the car and left the four-eyed rogue far behind. Soon after he left, the tenderness between his eyebrows melted away. Don't take that kind of person to heart. You won't meet him again in the future. I'll take you back. Lin Shui nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Okay. Her husband is really a man with overwhelming boyfriend power. Outside the Lin family. Not long after, a handsome Rolls-Royce stopped in this middle and high-end community. Although this place is a bit remote, the price is not cheap at all. Lin's parents have many houses, but they only like this one. Now suddenly such a luxury car is parked, and the surrounding residents are scared to pick up their mobile phones to take pictures. Lin's parents were naturally startled by such a noisy sound, and they couldn't help but open the door to look out. At this glance, they saw their daughter and Zhao Lei walking towards them together. Lin's father was overjoyed, and happily opened the door to welcome the two. Oh, Xiao Lei is here? Why did you bring so many gifts today? It's really troublesome. Zhao Lei stood at the door and hesitated for a while, wondering whether to tell them first. But there are so many people watching the show outside, so let's go inside first. Inside the house, Lin's mother was busy preparing hot dishes and politely fetching water for Zhao Lei. You kid, it's rare for you to come to our house. Lin's mother echoed. Yes, I heard that you are getting married today. Happy wedding. Seeing you and Shui are studying and working together for so many years, you finally have your own family. It's really not easy. Our Shui will be here soon. Lin Shui and Zhao Lei were both stunned. They faced each other and saw confusion in each other's eyes. Zhao Lei asked cautiously, what does this mean? Lin's father smiled and said, the son of your aunt's friend has returned from studying abroad. He is rich and good-looking. Today we are planning to arrange a blind date for them. So, we have been waiting for Shui to arrive before notifying him. Hearing this, Zhao Lei's face immediately darkened. He said in a deep voice, Uncle, I have something very sudden to tell you. When Lin Shui heard this, she quietly moved closer to Zhao Lei, holding the corner of his clothes with her little hand, and her eyes were full of worry. Father Lin immediately felt something was wrong when he saw it. Actually, the person I'm getting married to today is Shui. What did you say? As expected, the two elders said in unison, and they were all stunned. They all knew how their daughter felt about Zhao Lei over the years. Zhao Lei also knew that he was a poor boy and didn't dare to be interested in Lin Shui. He also worked diligently, so they especially admired Zhao Lei. Has this stinky boy been lying to them all along? No. If this is true, you should get a divorce. Lin's mother immediately changed her face and took away the water she had just given Zhao Lei. Her precious daughter can't marry such a poor boy. Mom! Lin Shui's tears fell all of a sudden. She didn't understand why the two elders always disagreed. Obviously, they all liked Zhao Lei very much. Lin's father's face was also dark. You can be friends, but you can't be together. They all knew how much their daughter loved them. What if she got wronged after marrying there? Uncle, I'm different now. I believe I can make Shui happy. Zhao Lei said, trying to show the two elders of the Lin family his account balance. Unexpectedly, they didn't even look at it and suddenly knocked Zhao Lei's phone to the ground. No matter what you look like now, we won't agree. Before he finished speaking, there was a knock on the door. Lin's mother frowned and warned Zhao Lei, it's probably Zhang Jingzi who's here. Don't talk nonsense to me. You two are not allowed to say anything about marriage. After saying that, before Zhao Lei could respond, she opened the door arrogantly with a forced smile on her face. Standing outside the door was a tall and handsome young man wearing glasses and looking gentle. He politely saluted Lin's mother. Hello, Auntie. Okay, Xiaozi, come in quickly. Lin's mother stepped back and made room for Zhang Jingzi. Zhao Lei felt the crisis and stood up from the sofa. He looked closely and said, it's you. Two different male voices shouted at the same time. But Zhao Lei's voice was angry, while Zhang Jingzi's voice was a little weak, as if he was afraid of something. Do you two know each other? Oh, how could they not know each other? Zhang Jingzi was the one who spit on his car just now. Of course I know him. The guy inside is just a fool who used his friend's car to show off. I just taught him a lesson outside. Zhang Jingzi couldn't see Lin Shui who was at the innermost part, and he just started talking nonsense. He had to take the initiative to make Lin's parents feel that he was very powerful. Lin Shui felt that she would spit out yesterday's meal as long as she thought of that spit. She didn't expect that her parents would let her go on a blind date with such a person. Her delicate face was suddenly filled with anger. "Mom and Dad, are you familiar with this person? Do you want me to be with him?" The person she liked for many years was not optimistic about her, but now she was asked to date a scumbag she had never met. The so-called jewel in the palm is just like this. Zhao Lei touched her head, gently hugged her to his arms, and his eyes were firm. He glanced at the man at the door, four-eyed rogue, but he is quite talkative. I don't know who was taught a lesson. Zhang Jingzi didn't expect Lin Shui to be there, and he was embarrassed. The girl was very pretty and her family was quite wealthy. He was bound to be able to live off her. How could such a coincidence happen? How could he put his face down? Please shut up. You have no right to speak here. Mother Lin pointed at Zhao Lei angrily, wishing she could throw him out. Xiao Zhe, don't pay attention to what other people say. Uncle and aunt have been waiting for you for a long time. Finally you are here. Lin's mother naturally didn't know what happened between Zhao Lei and Zhang Jingzi. She just thought that the two of them disliked each other, and immediately chose to coax her rich son-in-law first. Coughing, Zhang Jingzi glanced at Zhao Lei awkwardly, not daring to say anything else. But the moment he saw him holding Lin Shui's hand, his face immediately turned ugly. Lin's mother followed his gaze and naturally saw Zhao Lei's actions, and she was immediately furious. Why are you so shameless? Our Xiaoshua's marriage partner is right in front of you, why don't you take your dirty claws away? After hearing what Lin's mother said, Lin Shui immediately became anxious. Mom, I'm already married to Zhao Lei. However, when Lin's mother heard her say this, she became even angrier. How dare you say that? I will never agree to this marriage. You should wake up and apologize to Xiaoze immediately. Stop making trouble. Zhang Jingzi frowned when he heard that something was wrong. What's the matter? Wasn't she called here for a blind date? Before he could even smell the delicious soft rice, Lin Shui had already married Zhao Lei? Thinking of this, he didn't care about the embarrassment just now. He walked up and started to mock Zhao Lei. I say, you poor guy, you are too shameless. Just now you were a fool outside and wanted to borrow a luxury car to cheat your uncle and aunt, but now you are trying to eat swan meat? Zhao Lei laughed when he heard him say that. This man actually kept grabbing his clothes, squinting his eyes and looking at him coldly. How dare you say that? I don't know who took a photo of my car just now. My saliva is about to flow down it. After being exposed, even Zhang Jingzi felt a little embarrassed at this time. He had wanted to show off the photo to the two elders of the Lin family so that they would feel at ease to hand over their daughter to him. But now, Zhao Lei was right. The uncles and aunts beside him were watching, not to mention that Lin Shui was there too, so he naturally couldn't show weakness. It's not that I can't afford this luxury car, but I was struggling to decide whether to buy one or buy another limited edition at the time, so I missed it. After he finished speaking, he looked at Zhao Lei with a smug look on his face, as if he had already won. But Zhao Lei sneered, knowing that Zhang Jingzi was just saying nice things to others. This car is limited to the world, and Zhang Jingzi, who only knows how to do superficial work, would be a miracle if he could afford it. However, Zhao Lei knew that how could Lin's mother know the truth? On one side was a poor boy who worked hard step by step, and on the other side was a wealthy son-in-law who had studied abroad. Lin's mother thought she could see clearly, so she helped Zhang Jingzi. Jingzi is right. We are watching you too. How could I not know the situation in your family? If you say you bought this car, I will never believe it. So you better stop pretending here. She rolled her eyes at Zhao Lei and said coldly, Before, I thought that although you were a little poor, at least you were down to earth and smart. You were not like some people who were ignorant of the immensity of the world. Now it seems that you have lost even this advantage. Knowing that Lin's mother was on his side and speaking for him, Zhang Jingzi naturally felt relieved. He quickly walked to Lin's mother and echoed her, Aunt is right. As a poor guy, don't think too much. Just stay at the bottom of society. What's the point of embarrassing yourself here every day? After saying that, he took out his car keys and waved them in front of Zhao Lei. You see, this is the key to a luxury car, it's mine. I guess you have only touched the key of a luxury car once in your life, right? And you probably have to return it to your friend before it gets warm. Seeing that Zhao Lei still ignored him, Zhang Jingzi simply went all out and sneered and said, How about this? As long as you give up Xiaoshua, I will give you this key. He thought that the price he offered was very tempting and Zhao Lei would definitely agree immediately. But he didn't expect that the other party was still looking at him as if he was a fool, and his expression was even a little pitiful. Sorry, I don't like this kind of garbage car. When he said this, not to mention Zhang Jingzi, even Lin's mother's face was a little embarrassed. Suddenly, he got angry and took the broom and hit Zhao Lei. It's a pity that our family treated you so well before, but now you are repaying kindness with hatred and ruining Xiaoshua's good marriage. He was about to drive Zhao Lei out. Lin Shui felt a pang of pain in her heart, and she couldn't bear it anymore. She didn't say anything before because the person in front of her was her mother, and she shouldn't embarrass her parents for Zhao Lei. But now her mother has gone too far, even she can't stand it anymore. Mom, you can't do this, Zhao Lei is really. However, before she finished speaking, she was suddenly pulled back. Father Lin frowned at his daughter, and without a word of anger, he pulled her into the house and locked her up. After all, if Lin Shui really spoke to Zhao Lei, Zhang Jingze would definitely be angry. It would be a bad deal to let a rich son-in-law run away. Thinking of this, he ignored Lin Shui's resistance. Zhao Lei frowned when he saw Lin Shui being locked up by Father Lin. If he hadn't known that Lin Shui always respected her parents, he wouldn't have been in such a good mood to say these things to these two tactless people. Seeing Zhang Jingze sneering and watching the joke, Zhao Lei felt a little cold in his heart, thinking that he must teach this kid a lesson next time. However, at this moment, there was a sudden noise from downstairs in the community, mixed with the sound of some car horns. Zhao Lei happened to be driven to the entrance of the corridor by Lin's mother, and everyone saw the Rolls-Royce. My God, this new Rolls-Royce is limited to only 10 units worldwide. Now there are 2 parked in our community at once. This scene, I can see it once in my life, it's worth dying for. Look at this car, it's really cool. I wonder which family of ours got rich and bought 2 of these things at once. Hearing the noises downstairs, Lin's mother's eyes suddenly lit up, and she immediately determined that this luxury car was bought by Zhang Jingze. After all, she knew in her heart that this level of luxury car must be only affordable by the rich, and it must have nothing to do with other people in this community. So she looked at Zhang Jingze's expression more flattering, and Lin's mother looked at Zhao Lei's expression more disgusted. Look at Zhang Jingze, he is thoughtful. Didn't you say before that he wanted to take a picture of your car? Now he has driven a limited edition car. Tell me, if you are really capable, why don't you drive another one? As if she didn't see Zhao Lei's expression, she continued, I think if you really like our Xiuxue, you shouldn't ruin her good marriage. Otherwise, do you want her to be a poor ghost with you for the rest of her life? Zhang Jingze was praised by Lin's mother without saying a word, and he forced a smile to face Zhao Lei. At this time, he had begun to feel very uneasy. After all, he was the one who was really pretending to be cool. He had blown his own trumpet, but Zhao Lei had never refuted him. He also thought that Zhao Lei was guilty. But in this situation, he had to start to doubt that Zhao Lei was just too disdainful to argue with him, and the car outside might really be his. However, just when he was secretly struggling, the door of the luxury car suddenly opened. A woman in casual clothes got out of the luxury car. Her youthful flat white shoes could not stop her original temperament as a career woman. Zhang Jingze knew this person. Who doesn't know the secretary of Tianyuan Group? Seeing Duan Xiener get out of the car and walk straight towards them, Zhang Jingze finally had a bottom line in his heart. The two had some interactions when they were abroad before. She was Zhang Jingze's senior schoolmate. He thought that their relationship was still good. Thinking that Duan Xiener wanted to make friends with him and specially sent this luxury car that he had been eyeing for a long time, Zhang Jingze immediately felt confident and looked at Zhao Lei with even more disdain. The more confident the four-eyed rogue was, the more ridiculous Zhao Lei felt. The people he met today were really interesting, and they all came to him with their faces stretched out. Duan Xiener walked steadily towards Zhao Lei, and her eyes fell on Zhang Jingze carelessly. Lin's mother immediately tidied her clothes in a panic. She was afraid that someone would abduct her rich son-in-law the next moment. Miss Duan, long time no see. Zhang Jingze looked at Duan Xiener and smiled with his teeth showing. After all, there are very few people in the world who don't want to have anything to do with the people of Tianyuan Group. Duan Xiener looked at him and nodded slightly, which was considered a greeting. Then, in full view of everyone, she bent down slightly and respectfully handed the car keys and a folder to Zhao Lei. Master, I have done everything you asked me to do. Zhao Lei glanced at her knowingly, and was not in a hurry to take the things in her hand. At this time, you have to be polite. The more polite you are, the more people will look at you with new eyes. He pretended to be puzzled and asked, well, which car did you buy? Duan Xiener answered respectfully, the car I just bought is the same model as your new car, a new Rolls-Royce. Because it has been sold out, I asked someone to buy one at 5 times the price. 5 times? Zhang Jingze almost fainted when he heard this number. The price of a limited edition Rolls-Royce is already an astronomical figure. To buy it at 5 times the price, that can only be done by Tianyuan Group. However, Zhao Lei seemed not to see Zhang Jingze's livid face, but continued to ask, is the house what I want? I went to Lakeside Jiayuan to see, the villa there is too small, I don't think it is worthy of Miss Lin's parents, so I bought them a 600 square meter villa in Shanhao Home in the city center. The property certificate is here. Oh my god. Shenhao Home. That's a very expensive area where 1 square meter of the enemy's house is worth a lot of money. Zhang Jing's face turned pale when he heard this, but after seeing his reaction, Zhao Lei was satisfied and took the property certificate and car keys from Duan Xiener. You did a good job. After he finished speaking, Duan Xiener straightened up. To be honest, Duan Xiener gave Zhao Lei enough face, which made Lin's father and mother still not react. What happened? He was a poor boy before, how come he became a rich man in the blink of an eye? However, Zhao Lei did not give them time to react at all. Instead, he smiled and turned back, and said respectfully to Lin's mother, "Aunt, the car and the house are the betrothal gifts I brought. Don't worry, Xiao Xue will not suffer if she follows me." Lin's mother stared at the things in Zhao Lei's hand for a long time before she reacted. She looked at Zhao Lei with disbelief and some panic. After all, she was just helping Zhang Jingze to drive Zhao Lei out. Shivering, she quickly threw away the broom in her hand, kicked it aside, and then took the car key and the real estate certificate with both hands. "My dear, it's a little hot." She turned back to look at Lin's father with a guilty conscience. Before Lin's father could say anything, Zhao Lei took another step forward and stuffed a gold card into his hand. "This card is the betrothal money for you. Xiao Xue is your daughter who you raised. Now that she is with me, you will naturally feel a little lost and empty. You can use the money in this card as you like. When you travel around the world, I will reimburse you for any expenses." After he finished speaking, Lin's father put the card in his pocket, but at this time he felt as if it weighed 1,000 pounds. The two looked at each other and were a little overwhelmed by the current changes. They began to dislike Zhao Lei because of the money. After all, there were richer sons-in-law in front of them, so they naturally wanted to choose a better one for their daughter. However, now that the money problem has been solved, they are not at ease. After all, they were very familiar with Zhao Lei before, and Lin's father and mother had always heard about the relationship between him and Zhou Xiaofang. Now that he had just been dumped by Zhou Xiaofang, he came to find their Xiaoxue, which made the parents a little unbelievable for a while. The car and the house were real, and they were not fake. Mother Lin sighed, and her arrogant aura just now disappeared completely. "Xiao Lei, auntie is not a greedy person. Although you are so rich, you have been with Zhou Xiaofang for so long. I really can't believe you to marry Xiaoxue now," she said, and was about to return the car keys and property certificate to Zhao Lei. Seeing that his wife had made a decision, Father Lin also took out the bank card. "We are not selling our daughter. Although we want to find a good man for her and let him have no worries about food and clothing for the rest of his life, we want to find a man who loves her more. Jingze has a good family background and no messy past, so we are so opposed to you." Zhao Lei looked at the reactions of the two and knew that they were completely different from Zhou Xiaofang's parents. Asking for money was just to prevent their daughter from being wronged after marriage. So Zhao Lei laughed and said seriously and loudly, "Uncle and aunt, since you know what happened between Zhou Xiaofang and me, you naturally know how deeply I was hurt by her. It was Xiao Xue who appeared and pulled me out and gave me hope. I love her and will never let her down." When he was talking, Lin Shui had already come out of the room. When she heard what Zhao Lei said, she blushed. Zhao Lei looked at her, smiled, and then turned serious again. "You know your daughter well. She is gentle and kind, and she doesn't love money. It is my blessing to marry her, so I will definitely not do the kind of asshole thing you think." After he finished speaking, he stepped forward and hugged Lin Shui in his arms. Lin Shui blushed at what he said, but did not refuse him. Lin's father and mother sighed, knowing that Zhao Lei was the kind of person who would keep his word, so they did not raise any more objections. Zhao Lei, on the other hand, glanced at Zhang Jingze next to him after he finished speaking, and his eyes were self-evident. Zhang Jingze was unable to react for a while by this sudden change, but when he saw Zhao Lei's eyes again, he felt his face burning with pain. Zhao Lei's eyes meant something. "Why don't you get out?" Zhang Jingze gritted his teeth. He had never suffered such humiliation before. As a rich second-generation returnee, he was respected wherever he went. This was the first time in his life that he was slapped in the face like this, so naturally he could not accept it. But Zhao Lei didn't care about his state of mind. After all, such a small figure was really not worth mentioning nowadays. However, what made Zhang Jingze most angry was Zhao Lei's attitude of ignoring him. He gritted his teeth for a moment, as if he wanted to eat Zhao Lei. He could not believe that a man like Zhao Lei could have so much property and be Miss Duan's young master. There must be something wrong with all this. He must expose this man. Thinking of this, he ignored Zhao Lei's eyes, sneered, and walked up to pull Lin Shui out of Zhao Lei's arms. Then, as if he still thought that Lin's father and mother were still on his side, he handed Lin Shui to Lin's mother. "Aunt, don't believe this man, he is a liar. Otherwise, think about it, he was such a poor ghost before, how could he become rich overnight?" With a sneer, He spat at Zhao Lei. I think this person is either relying on others' power to deceive you, or he has done something unspeakable. Hearing what he said, Lin's father and mother also panicked, and at this time they looked at Zhao Lei with some vigilance. It's not that they are overthinking. After all, when the child came 2 days ago, he was riding a bicycle. How could he suddenly become so rich in just 2 days? Zhao Lei knew that Lin's father and mother were overthinking, but he was not panicked. Instead, he pointed at Duan Xiener frankly. You look down on me, but do you also look down on Duan Xiener? Secretary Duan explained to him. Duan Xiener received Zhao Lei's order and frowned at Zhang Jingze, who was showing off in front of her. To be honest, she only thought that this man was a dandy and not worth mentioning before, but now it seems that this man is really hateful. If Zhao Lei hadn't said anything before, according to her temper, she would have thrown this man out long ago. But she is the secretary of Tianyuan Group and knows that she can't take over. I call him master, so he is naturally the future owner of our Tianyuan Group. This simple sentence bombarded everyone who was watching the show. Zhang Jingze looked incredulous and couldn't speak for a long time. Seeing that everyone disliked him, including the 2 elders of the Lin family who had just stood beside him, Zhang Jingze's legs became weak. Now that you figured it out, then get out of here. Zhao Lei looked at Zhang Jingze with amusement. He was so arrogant before, but now his face was livid. I wonder how much hatred he had in his heart. So refreshing. Seeing Zhao Lei smile, Zhang Jingze felt his face burning with pain. He tried to grab the last straw. Aunt, you said before that I should go on a blind date with Xiaoxue, but in the blink of an eye, Xiaoxue got married. Isn't it too casual? He looked very flattering, but Lin's mother could see clearly at this time that the person who wanted to marry Xiaoxue was Zhao Lei, not the person in front of her. So she let go of her daughter and skillfully picked up the broom that fell to the side. You, what do you mean by that? You are the one who deceived us, and now you are biting us back? Unexpectedly, Lin's mother was so fierce to him. Zhang Jingze immediately shrank his neck and said carefully, Aunt, I don't mean that either. I want you to calm down and think about who is the more suitable candidate for Xiaoxue. However, Lin's mother had already identified Zhao Lei, so she naturally ignored him. Don't talk nonsense to me here. Don't think I don't know the mess in your mind. Get out of here quickly and don't dirty the eyes of my rich son-in-law. After saying that, she used the same trick again and swept Zhang Jingze out with a broom. Zhao Lei was grinning on the side. A few minutes ago, it was him who was angry. Unexpectedly, the situation changed and he saw his mother-in-law punishing Zhang Jingze so soon. The 4-eyed rogue was hit twice by the broom and got angry. Before, he was greedy for Lin Shue's beauty, and then he was angry at Zhao Lei's face. Now that the face was torn, he didn't want to pretend anymore, so he cursed. You are a bunch of money-grubbing rats in the Lin family. Even if Lin Shue, climbs up the ladder, what's the use? She will be dumped in the end? I think you should save the money for your daughter's retirement. His words were unpleasant, and Lin's father's face turned pale for a while. Lin's mother even swung the broom to hit him. Zhao Lei sneered and stretched out his hand to stop Lin's mother. Secretary Duan, don't let this kind of person ruin the celebration. Duan Xiener had long disliked this man, and finally got the order to deal with him, so she would not miss this opportunity. She raised her hand and snapped her fingers easily, and the bodyguards who had been following her all year round immediately came up and threw Zhang Jingze out in no time. The troublesome person finally left, and Lin's father and mother finally looked a little better. After hesitating for a long time, Lin's mother thought about it and apologized. Zhao Lei, I'm sorry, it's my aunt who is old and confused and greedy for money, and almost broke up the couple. Zhao Lei smiled and didn't want to mention it again. You are a good person, but Xiaoxue is our only daughter. In your previous situation, I really had no choice but to be a shrew. Zhao Lei felt a little uncomfortable when he thought of the past. Naturally, he could understand the 2 elders' approach. They were completely different from Li Jifan. Aunt, you don't need to explain anymore, I understand. If it were me, I wouldn't agree either. Don't worry, from now on Shuer is my only one. I will give her a more grand wedding and invite you all to the scene to witness our happiness in person. Lin Shue's hand was held by Zhao Lei. Seeing that her parents were convinced by him, she was very moved. Seeing their daughter's admiring eyes, the 2 elders of the Lin family looked at each other and finally let go of their worries. It seemed that they were just worrying too much. Now that everything was settled, the Lin family parents had no objections. Lin Shue especially kept Zhao Lei and stayed in her house for one night. Zhao Lei did not refuse. However, the first night of the wedding was certainly not peaceful. The 2 of them quietly lingered in Lin Shue's room all night. The next morning, as soon as Zhao Lei opened his eyes, he received a good morning kiss from Lin Shue. Honey, get up. Feeling the warmth from Lin Shue, Zhao Lei couldn't help but want to move again, but was gently kicked by Lin Shui. It's early in the morning, my parents are still at home. Zhao Lei realized that he was still living in his father-in-law's house. He immediately felt a little regretful. Although he was still not satisfied, he still had to consider Lin Shui's parents, so he had to get up and dress neatly. Lin Shui smiled at him, her eyes were so beautiful that they seemed to be able to seduce souls. The slow action of putting on clothes made Zhao Lei's heart itch. This made him have other ideas in his mind. Now that the two are married, he is different from the past. He can't live with Shui's parents all the time, otherwise everything will be inconvenient. The new house bought as a betrothal gift is still under renovation, and it is impossible to take Xiaoshui back to the house he rented before to suffer grievances. Staying here is really delaying his work. Xiaoshui, you should have nothing to do today, right? When Lin Shui heard Zhao Lei ask this, she instinctively answered, nothing, are you going to take me on a honeymoon? It was just a joke, but Zhao Lei took it seriously. He came to the bathroom and hugged Xiaoshui's waist from behind while she was brushing her teeth. Of course there will be a honeymoon, but there are other plans today. He looked at Lin Shui with a mysterious face. During breakfast, Lin's parents were very curious about their plans for today. Zhao Lei only said that he was going out, and did not reveal where he was going. It was not until he finished packing that Lin Shui got into Zhao Lei's car. Watching the scenery change, Lin Shui's heart was pounding, guessing where Zhao Lei was going to take her today, but she didn't expect that the car would stop at a place where every inch of land in this city is worth a lot of money. The home of the rich man? Lin Shui looked at Zhao Lei in surprise, but the man smiled without any concern. It will take some time to decorate the new house, so I think it's better to buy a fully decorated house and live in it first. Even Lin Shui was stunned by Zhao Lei's operation at this time. Although she was not used to living in her own home after getting married, she did not expect Zhao Lei to spend so much money to bring her here to buy a house. Seeing that Lin Shui was still a little hesitant, Zhao Lei smiled generously and pulled her into the sales office. Let's go, I don't need this little money. Lin Shui poked him coquettishly, and then she felt relieved when she remembered his identity, and followed Zhao Lei in. This super rich home is indeed worthy of its reputation. From the floor to the wall to the furniture in the living room, everything is two words, noble. When Zhao Lei walked in and saw the magnificent colors, he nodded unconsciously and exclaimed from the heart, okay, super rich enough. However, his appearance became a different feeling in the eyes of those employees. Look at him, he's like Granny Lu entering the Grand View Garden, looking around. It looks like he's another visitor. That's right, there are only poor people like this coming here all day long. They can't afford to buy anything, and yet they just wander around. We should talk to the security guard and tell them not to let this kind of people in. After that, several people laughed again. When Zhao Lei followed Lin Shui in, there was a row of sales ladies next to him, but no one took the initiative to greet them. That would be fine, but now they are chatting here and making fun of customers. Even Lin Shui looked a little unhappy. Zhao Lei glanced at the staff over there with a sharp look. The sales ladies didn't show much emotion. At this time, they just thought that Zhao Lei was angry because of what they said, and didn't realize their faults at all. Look, this country bumpkin is still angry. We are telling the truth. He didn't recognize himself clearly. People like this are really a waste of our time. The expressions on everyone's faces were as if they saw a puddle of mud. Zhao Lei laughed when he heard them say that, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. These employees are really blind, and it's no wonder that Zhao Lei and Lin Shui are angry. Just when Zhao Lei was about to speak, he suddenly saw an inconspicuous young girl appear behind the crowd. The woman was not outstanding enough, with some spots on her face, and she lowered her head slightly, looking polite and humble. Zhao Lei looked at the girl and raised his eyebrows. Li Yu had already walked in front of Zhao Lei, with a smile on her face, which was a bit professional, but not offensive. Sir, my last name is Li, and I am also a real estate agent in this community. She handed over her business card with both hands. Zhao Lei took her business card and glanced at it, then put it in his shirt pocket, and said lightly, I came here today to pick a wedding house, which is well decorated and can be moved in at any time. After he finished speaking, the sales ladies who had not stood up before were pointing and talking again. Hey, are you here to rent a house? We don't rent out houses. The sharp and piercing voice made Zhao Lei very unhappy. The price of the well-decorated house is more expensive than the house itself. Can he afford it? You are overestimating him by saying that he can rent it. Not to mention that the sales ladies laughed at Zhao Lei at this time. Even Li Yu, who came out, felt a little embarrassed when she heard them say that. But she was a new intern, and now she came to receive guests only because of professional ethics, and she couldn't ignore the guests who came in. But if Zhao Lei and Lin Shui could buy a house here, and a well-decorated wedding house, he didn't believe it. She said with some concern, Sir, the simply decorated houses here are also good, much better than other real estate projects. How about I take you to visit first, and then consider it? Her attitude was really good. Zhao Lei looked up and down, and waved his hand. No need to visit or consider, you just pick the best one among the remaining houses for me now. Everyone was stunned when he said this. The sales ladies next to him even looked at Zhao Lei with pity. Li Yu was now a little helpless, so she had to carefully remind him, "Sir, do you want to consider it again?" She was really afraid that Zhao Lei would pretend to be rich and have no money to take out. After all, Zhao Lei said that this was a wedding house, and Lin Shui standing next to him was probably his new wife. It would be embarrassing to pay the bill, and the couple would have to break up. Zhao Lei looked at her, took out a bank card from his arms, and handed it to Li Yu in front of him. "Pay in full, and go through the formalities now. Miss, please hurry up, I have other things to do later." After saying that, Zhao Lei took Lin Shui to the side to rest. The expression of the staff of Xinhao Home at this time was indescribable. Full payment? This person must be crazy. Zhao Lei's operation really stunned everyone. All the employees of Xinhao Home have seen countless wealthy people buy houses here, but this is the first time they have seen someone pay in full by credit card. When Li Yu's operation was successful, these sales ladies realized how big a big fish they had let go, and they quickly changed their faces and came to please Zhao Lei. "Sir, you have a good eye. The house you chose is the best in our home." "That's right, you see this house is a single-family villa. Not only is it the largest in area, but the fine decoration inside is also the drawings drawn by European designers themselves, and the furniture is all imported. I guarantee you will be satisfied." The two sales ladies were squeezed aside before they finished speaking. "Sir, how about I take you to see the room? Now that you have paid, the house is yours." To be honest, there were several wealthy businessmen who were interested in this house before, but they couldn't come up with the money. It was you who had the courage to pay in full all at once. These sales ladies now understand what Loki means. It turns out that the real wealthy people are all poor faces like him, and they all immediately paid for it. The body wrapped tightly in the professional suit swayed in front of Zhao Lei, very ostentatious. Zhao Lei sneered, thinking that these faded flowers and willows were not even 1,000th as good as Lin Shui. They still had the nerve to show off their beauty here to seduce him. Looking at these fence-sitters, Zhao Lei's face turned cold, and he didn't want to pay any attention to them. Li Yu had just finished the formalities, and came over to see a group of people surrounding Zhao Lei. She was a little embarrassed and didn't know what to do. Zhao Lei saw her embarrassed face through the gap in the wall of people surrounded by the group of sales ladies, and immediately frowned and shouted, "Is this how you employees of Xinhao Home serve? You dare to block the way of customers." The sales ladies were frightened and quickly stepped back, but Zhao Lei still insisted, You, and you, disappear from my sight immediately, otherwise you can start looking for the next job." The three people he pointed out were the three people who laughed at him the most before. The three sales ladies were stunned when he said that. If someone else had said that, they would have dared to refute. But Zhao Lei had just paid in full for the best house in this wealthy family. With such financial resources, they dared not imagine the background behind him. So as soon as Zhao Lei finished speaking, several people immediately ran outside the reception room and dared not show their faces. Li Yu was also a little dazed when she saw such a scene. She was a young intern who had just graduated from college. How could she imagine that it would end up like this? "Sir, your formalities have been completed. From now on, this villa is yours. You can move in at any time." Zhao Lei glanced at her, took the contract in his hand, and flipped it twice casually. "Whose name is written?" "According to your instructions, it is written in the name of your wife, Lin Shui." Lin Shui blushed when she said wife and pulled Zhao Lei's arm. That shy little look made Zhao Lei feel refreshed. "You are good at talking. I never treat sensible people unfairly. You don't need to return the card I just gave you. The remaining money is a tip for you." After he said this, Li Yu was completely dumbfounded. When she got the card just now, she looked at the level of the card. Although this card has bought the best villa with fine decoration in Xinhao Home, the remaining money is also a huge fortune for her. Add the commission from this transaction. This is more than enough to go from internship to regularization, and even to get a job. The sales ladies next to them were even more envious. But even so, they didn't dare to go forward to provoke Zhao Lei, otherwise, they might even lose their jobs. Zhao Lei found Li Yu's appearance there interesting, so he found a pen and paper at the front desk, wrote down his contact information, and handed it to the girl. "You are a good person. If you need help in the future, you can find me." If it was before payment, it is estimated that the sales ladies would laugh at Zhao Lei for not even having a business card. But now everyone is thinking, as expected of a rich man, he has personality. The contact information was written casually. What is this called? This is called casualness. Liu knew that Zhao Lei thought highly of her, and immediately thanked him profusely, and respectfully sent Zhao Lei and Lin Shui to the door. Zhao Lei was in a good mood at this moment, thinking about moving in the future. Lin Shui saw that there were no people around, and she breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, she had the opportunity to speak. She frowned and looked at Zhao Lei, looking a little worried. Why are you so impulsive? We don't need such a good house at all. Even if we have money, we shouldn't spend it like this. Zhao Lei rubbed Lin Shui's head and didn't want to explain. After all, he has a mission, and spending this little money is nothing. It's normal for Lin Shui to be unaccustomed to it now. Sooner or later, she will get used to it after spending money with him for a long time. And I just glanced at the price and it's too expensive. This price can buy several well-decorated houses in other places. And if you buy such a big villa for us, we can't live in it. There are so many empty rooms, it looks so scary. What he didn't expect was that Lin Shui's words were heard by the security guard next to him. The security guard of the Shinhao home was naturally a snob. After hearing Lin Shui's complaints, he looked down on them and just regarded them as poor ghosts. He whispered there while Zhao Lei was out. There are so many poor people who can't see what their fate is, and they have to swell their faces and pretend to be rich. For the sake of face and not money, they not only torment themselves, but also their families. Zhao Lei frowned when he heard his words and glanced over. The security guard saw Zhao Lei's eyes, but still didn't care, and continued, "What are you looking at? I'm doing this for your own good. Look at your girlfriend, she is so beautiful, you might as well live a good life. I advise you to say something good and ask for a favor while there is time, and see if you can return the house. Otherwise, I'm afraid that even if you two get married, you won't be able to live well with debts." Zhao Lei was actually amused by this nosy security guard. He thought that it was none of his business if he bought a house. But he didn't want to pay attention to him. He just put his arm around Lin Shui's shoulders and walked out directly. He raised his head slightly, with an arrogant aura. "I have a lot of money, and I'm burning it." After saying that, he walked out the door and walked straight to his limited edition Rolls-Royce. Coming out of Shinhao home, Zhao Lei felt refreshed. Lin Shui heard what the security guard said before, and she didn't say that the house was expensive at this time. After thinking about it, she let it go. After all, Zhao Lei was doing it for her anyway. The two returned home and just caught up with lunch. Knowing that Zhao Lei would eat at home, the Lin family's parents bought a lot of dishes early and worked all morning. As soon as Zhao Lei and Lin Shui entered the corridor, they smelled a fragrance. Zhao Lei smiled, and his heart was even more refreshed. He couldn't help but sigh that it was really good to have a home. When he entered the house, he saw a table of dishes. Lin's parents invited Zhao Lei and Lin Shui to the table. Zhao Lei seemed respectful. "You are the elders, how can you take care of me? Let Lin Shui and I go over to serve the rice and get chopsticks." After that, the two walked into the kitchen, and the two elders of the Lin family praised Zhao Lei's understanding even more. When it was time to eat, Zhao Lei clearly felt that Lin's mother was absent-minded. Sure enough, before they had even taken 2 bites of the meal, Lin's mother started asking, "Xiao Shui, where did you go this morning?" It was not her fault that she was suspicious, but she was really curious about where Zhao Lei, a super-rich man, usually went. When Lin Shui heard her ask this, she coughed lightly, glanced at the man next to her, and whispered, "Zhao Lei took me to the super-rich home and bought a house." When they heard that Zhao Lei had bought another house, the Lin family's parents were really stunned. Although this family was well off, they had never lived such a rich life. This kind of operation of buying a house at any time, and buying a house in the most expensive place in the city, made them a little unable to accept it for a while. "Zhao Lei, I know you have good intentions. But since we have already bought a house, we should not waste it, otherwise we will not be able to live in it, right?" Zhao Lei smiled and explained naturally, "I think since I have married Xiaoxue, it is a bit inconvenient for the two of us to live in my father-in-law's house. The new house still needs to wait for decoration, so I went to buy a fully decorated house, just in time to move in directly." Seeing that Lin's mother wanted to say something, Zhao Lei added, "Today, this house is only written in Xiaoxue's name. I want to give her some assets that she can control herself, so you can rest assured, right?" "You only wrote Xiaoxue's name?" Lin's mother asked in surprise. Seeing Zhao Lei nod affirmatively, Lin's mother's emotions suddenly became complicated. How many men can think so much about their wives now? The two elders don't know that the house they bought is the most expensive one, but they also know that any house in the Shinhao home will not be cheap. Lin's mother took a sip of water and was very relieved. Fortunately, Xiaoxue insisted on her choice. "I discussed this with your uncle today. Since you two are married, you should go visit our relatives. It's also good to let them know. Otherwise, your relatives won't know who you are, and it will be awkward for Xiaoxue to visit relatives during the New Year holidays in the future. Zhao Lei listened to her and thought about it. Going to meet the relatives was something he should do, and it was difficult to refuse. He knew that although Lin's mother said this, she also had some intention of showing off. After thinking for a while, he said, "In this case, why not wait until we move and invite all the relatives to our home, which will also make you more face." Hearing Zhao Lei's thoughtfulness, Lin's mother smiled so hard that her teeth were not visible, and the wrinkles on Lin's father's face were almost enough to kill a fly. "Okay, let's do as you say." Lin's mother agreed very quickly, and then the few people buried their heads in eating. Lin Shui could clearly feel that her parents were almost biased to the Pacific Ocean. The chicken legs and chicken feet that were left for her before were now all picked up by her own mother and put into Zhao Lei's bowl. However, she was also happy with this change. For her, it was of course a good thing that her husband was fully accepted. After dinner, Lin's mother immediately began to pack up Lin Shui's things. Her face was full of joy, and there was no sadness at all when other families married off their daughters. She had a smile on her face, humming a song, and throwing things out. Lin Shui was speechless. "Mom, what are you doing? How can we move if we throw everything away?" Lin's mother drooped her face and was unhappy. "How can you, a young man, be like an old stubborn? You can buy anything you are missing. Otherwise, you will be laughed at by your relatives when they come to visit you when you bring these cheap goods to a place like Xinhao home." After that, she was too lazy to care about Lin Shui anymore, and turned her back to continue throwing things. The little girl's mouth was pouting, which was very cute. Zhao Lei, who was standing next to her, laughed non-stop. For a long time, Zhao Lei drove Lin Shui and Lin's mother to Xinhao home to pack up the newly bought house. It must be said that after all, this villa was bought at a high price. It is located in the center of the community and looks magnificent. When you walk in, you will find that the layout inside is very delicate, and the furniture looks domineering and rich. Zhao Lei is very satisfied with this villa. And after all, it is a home of the rich, and the service for rich people like Zhao Lei is also first class. Although the house was just handled in the morning, when Zhao Lei came in, it was already clean and tidy, without a trace of dust. Since Lin's mother came in, she has been full of praise, thinking that Lin Shui is really lucky. While thinking this, she took Lin Shui to choose a room, and then put away all the things she brought one by one. Zhao Lei naturally knew that these girls' things were out of his hands. But worried that everyone might be exhausted from moving, he thought it would be better to go out and buy some food to bring back. At that time, he could also comfort everyone. With this thought, he went out alone. He is the kind of person who doesn't care about trivial matters. He bought some of what he saw at the door. When he came back, he had big bags in both hands. It happened that the security guard who had a quarrel with Zhao Lei in the morning was changing shifts. Seeing Zhao Lei carrying 2 big bags in, he thought he was a delivery man. He rolled his eyes immediately. "I thought he was a very rich man, but I didn't expect him to be a delivery man." Zhao Lei glanced at him and didn't want to talk to him. The security guard thought Zhao Lei had nothing to say, so he immediately got angry. "Before, I was thinking of buying a house here. At least I should have 2 houses. But I didn't expect you to be so poor. I'm almost laughing to death. I don't know if your monthly salary is enough to pay the property management fee here? You pretend to be rich, but you shouldn't take a and look in the mirror first." Zhao Lei didn't want to pay attention to him. After all, there were many people who looked down on others like this. If he paid attention to them one by one, he might as well be off to death. Now his car was also in the community, and he had nothing to show off. He would not have the upper hand in an argument with this guy. After 2 days, when he was completely settled, the security guard would naturally change his attitude, and it would not be too late to deal with him then. So he walked forward with his head down, as if he didn't hear what the security guard said just now. Before he took 2 steps, several people suddenly came in front of him and stopped him. Zhao Lei looked at the security guards in front of him, frowned, and looked unhappy. The temperament was different after all. The security guards were slightly shocked, but then they looked disgusted, as if they saw something inappropriate. "Excuse me, sir, this kind of high-end community does not allow takeout personnel to enter." Zhao Lei heard them say this and immediately laughed angrily. "Which eye of yours saw that I was a takeout delivery man?" Zhao Lei was naturally not willing to give up after seeing that the security guards saw this. "I don't care if you're a delivery guy, but you look so rustic, you don't look like someone who can enter our Xinhao home." After saying that, he swung the stick in his hand. "Don't blame me for not reminding you before. If you insist on going in, for the safety of our owners, I have the right to kick you out. I'm the owner here, I don't believe you can really kick me out." Zhao Lei was furious. When the security guard heard that he was the owner, he actually laughed. If you are the owner here, I'm still a shareholder of Shinhao Home. Don't refuse a toast and drink a penalty. If you keep talking nonsense to me here, I'll really fight you. Zhao Lei was so angry that he was about to argue with him, but a familiar voice behind him suddenly sounded. Oh, I think this community is very good. Look at the distance between the buildings and the attitude of the security guard. This is where rich people should live. Li Xiufan's voice was sharp and piercing, and very recognizable. Coupled with her loud voice, she immediately attracted Zhao Lei's attention. Zhao Lei turned around and saw that the people who came were Zhou Xiaofang's family. There was also a young man in a suit and tie next to them, who was holding Zhou Xiaofang's waist and looking at Li Xiufan with a smug look on his face. Auntie, you are right. Since I want to marry Xiaofang, I naturally have to give her the best. After thinking about it, only the house here can match my love for Xiaofang. Zhou Xiaofang's face turned red when he heard him say that, and her body leaned closer to his arms. She was also very fast. It wasn't long after breaking up that she found a new partner. Zhao Lei really admired them, but just looking at their appearance made him feel angry. Turning around, he didn't want to pay attention to them. Li Xiufan happened to see Zhao Lei with her sharp eyes and shouted, as if she was afraid that others couldn't see it. Oh, you scumbag is here too. Zhou Xiaofang was shocked when she heard Li Xiufan shouting. She looked forward, but when she saw Zhao Lei, she suddenly shrank her neck in surprise. Wu Junyi clearly felt Zhou Xiaofang's little move just now, and immediately frowned. He looked at Zhao Lei with a bit of unkindness, but he also kept his sanity and greeted Zhou Xiaofang first. Honey, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? Zhou Xiaofang was a little flustered. She didn't know how to explain what happened between her and Zhao Lei. It was not easy to meet a rich man again, and this time she didn't want to let him go. So she gritted her teeth and tried to squeeze out tears. The man in front is my ex-boyfriend. She pretended to be scared and shrank behind Wu Junyi. Wu Junyi's face also became ugly. He had a new girlfriend, and when he took her to see the wedding house, he met her ex-boyfriend. This matter was disgusting no matter how he thought about it. However, he also obviously noticed that something was wrong with Zhou Xiaofang, so he comforted her. What about the ex-boyfriend? Now you are my girlfriend. What are you afraid of him doing? When Zhou Xiaofang heard him ask this, she instantly seized the opportunity and burst into tears. You don't know how much I liked him at that time, but this scumbag, just when we were about to get married, despised our poor family background, abandoned me, and found another woman on the spot. Zhou Xiaofang burst into tears after she finished speaking, and leaned into Wu Junyi's arms. At that time, I no longer believed in love. If I hadn't met you, who made me regain hope in life, I might have died now. What she said was true and sincere, and coupled with the appropriate coquetry, it quickly aroused Wu Junyi's desire to protect her. Wu Junyi frowned and looked at Zhao Lei, very unhappy. This scumbag actually did such a thing to you, I will never forgive him. He had a cold face and gently wiped the tears from Zhou Xiaofang's face. Wait, I will go to help you settle the score with him right away. Even though Zhou Xiaofang really wanted him to go, she couldn't say it. She pulled Wu Junyi's sleeve and pulled him back. Let's not provoke him. After all, he is rich now. If we really go head-on, I'm afraid it will be bad for you. Although his words sounded like he was trying to persuade them to stop fighting, for Wu Junyi, this only increased his anger. What? More money than me? He sneered, and looking at Zhao Lei, he felt even more unhappy with the man in front of him. If he said at the beginning that he would help Zhou Xiaofang get justice was just a nice word to coax a woman, then now he has a strong fighting spirit against Zhao Lei. After all, it's a matter of face now. Zhou Xiaofang knew that her plan had worked when she looked at Wu Junyi's eyes. With a smile on her lips, she threw the last blow. Let's not care about him, okay? I don't want you to stand up for me. I just want to live a good life with you. She lowered her head, with a little panic on her face. Wu Junyi looked at her and felt that something in his heart was touched. So he squatted down and pinched her face. It's okay, don't underestimate me. Our family is one of the best in the city. Even if he is rich, so what? I don't believe I can't cure him. Seeing Zhou Xiaofang raised her head, she looked at him cautiously. Are you really okay? She pretended to be a good green tea. How could Wu Junyi recognize it? Of course it's true. I will go to him right away to settle the score and let you vent your anger. Just wait. Oh, you are so good at talking, and you look so dramatic. Why don't you become an actress? Zhao Lei was furious when he saw Zhou Xiaofang. He never thought this woman was so vicious. He was blind to like her. Zhou Xiaofang didn't feel guilty at all. A few more tears fell. She looked so pitiful and didn't even look at Zhao Lei. She turned her head away with tears in her eyes. No, I really didn't pretend. He abandoned me in front of everyone at the wedding. All my relatives and friends at that time can testify to it. Junyi, you must believe me. Baby, of course I believe you. Don't cry. If you cry again, I will be heartbroken. As he said that, Wu Junyi even reached out to gently wipe Zhou Xiaofang's tears. Zhao Lei laughed coldly. Now he finally knew what green tea was. His eyebrows were slightly raised. Yes, why don't you ask them all to come and tell you? Without further ado, he was very happy to see that scene. Threat, naked threat. Zhou Xiaofang, who wanted to continue to feel wronged, choked up all of a sudden. She still felt guilty. But Li Xiufen couldn't bear it. Her daughter had finally found a rich husband, so she couldn't let him go. My daughter, why are you so miserable? Li Xiufen burst into tears and almost rolled on the ground. I didn't agree with you being with this scumbag at the beginning. Now it's all right. He's here to collect the debt. Look, he slandered you so easily. Li Xiufen was not afraid of thunder when she lied. Her voice was louder and louder, which hurt Zhao Lei's ears. After picking his ears, he didn't want to watch the mother and daughter acting anymore, and continued to walk into the community. Seeing that Wu Junyi showed no sign of stopping, Li Xiufen was very angry and sat down directly. Daughter, your youth has been wasted for so many years. Mom is so distressed. The cry of daughter was extremely sad. It seemed that she wanted to call out all the grievances she had suffered for many years. Zhou Xiaofang was speechless. She buried her head in Wu Junyi's arms, unable to stop crying. Feeling that the person in his arms seemed to be heartbroken, Wu Junyi reached out, gently held Zhou Xiaofang's small hand, and stroked it again and again. The sharp-eyed shrew thought that Wu Junyi was backing her up, and as if she had seized the initiative, she stretched out her hand and pointed directly at Zhao Lei. You loser, you still want to leave, hurry up and compensate my daughter's youth. I've been so good to you for so many years, how could I raise you into an ungrateful wolf? And you said we were actors, but you were the one who hired actors to bully us mother and daughter on the wedding day. Zhao Lei was really convinced. How much money did they need? My youth is not youth? Don't you know who is wrong? You are so old, why are you so shameless? Li Xiufen didn't know what shame was. She ignored his words, put her hands on her waist, and continued to curse with full momentum. You are right to bully the old man. What did you tell me at the beginning? You will never let my daughter suffer any grievances. As a result, you drove us all out on the wedding day. I let you go once, but I won't let you go a second time. Li Xiufen became more and more excited, and the onlookers felt that her throat was about to smoke. At that time, you said you were the heir of Tianyuan Group. Who are you fooling? I have seen the report on TV with my own eyes. It said that Tianyuan Group has no heir at all. It's okay to use such words to coax my daughter, but do you think you can coax us? Humph, a poor loser who wants to eat swan meat. Why don't you take a and look at yourself? Is this old woman a reincarnated fly? She talks a lot and is noisy. She keeps talking about the same issue over and over again, as if she is afraid that others don't know. Zhao Lei suppressed his temper. If you don't want to be embarrassed like last time, just go away. Li Xiufen's eyes widened and her mouth opened wide. Does this pretentious brat know who is in front of him? He dared to refute. He must be tired of living. She completely forgot that she suddenly raised the price of selling her daughter at the wedding. Zhao Lei looked at her calmly, took out his mobile phone from his bag and shook it in front of her. I don't want to hit a woman, but the premise is that you don't challenge my bottom line again and again. I recorded the conversation that day, don't let me remind you what you said. Li Xiufen panicked and didn't dare to say anything. If Wu Junyi knew what she did, how could she get the betrothal money? You are talking nonsense. Zhou Xiaofang took advantage of her mother grabbing everyone's attention, pinched her thigh hard, and tears flowed down. Zhao Lei, are you still a man? You left a woman behind and let me endure those rumors alone. It's your fault anyway, and now you are slandering my reputation. That's it, get out of here, and don't let us see you again. Li Xiufen stammered. Wu Junyi couldn't stand the person in his arms crying. Hearing that Zhou Xiaofang had suffered so much before she met him, he felt even worse. His fists were clenched tightly in his hands, as if he would hit Zhao Lei in the face if he said another word. I get out? Ha, I'm the owner of this place, and you should get out. Zhao Lei was not willing to be outdone at this time. You are really shameless. How can you have any money with your poor appearance? Young Master Wu told you to get out, but you just got out. The quarrel between the several people was seen by the security guard on the side. Seeing that he had a chance to speak, he immediately seized the opportunity to flatter Wu Junyi. Wu Junyi's mouth corners were raised, and he looked at Zhao Lei with disdain in his smug look. Li Xiufen naturally felt that she had a good opportunity to add insult to injury, and she was no longer panicked. Look at you, you obviously don't have a life, but you still have to pretend here, why bother? Come, kneel down here, I will ask Master Wu to let you go. Zhao Lei was glad that he was able to see the faces of this family clearly in time, otherwise he would not know what kind of hot and cold place he would be living in now. Hey, I see you just don't want to drink the toast and have to drink the penalty wine, come on. Wu Junyi couldn't stand Zhao Lei's arrogant look, it was obvious that he was a loser who dared to show off here. Without saying a word, Wu Junyi punched him. Zhao Lei reacted very quickly and dodged by turning sideways. Wu Junyi saw that he missed and shouted loudly. Those guys over there, what are you doing standing there, come here and beat them to death. With a group of security guards following behind him, Wu Junyi suddenly felt more confident and looked at Zhao Lei with even more disdain. He took a step forward, pointed his finger at Zhao Lei's nose, and said arrogantly, you are a poor, you have no responsibility and no commitment, and you can only lie with your mouth. I tell you, I am really good to Zhou Xiaofang. Zhao Lei looked at him and felt that this kind of person was really hopeless. He actually regarded Zhou Xiaofang as a woman so seriously. She was clearly just a white lotus, and Zhao Lei didn't even want such a woman. Seeing that Zhao Lei ignored him, Wu Junyi became even more arrogant and began to show off. This time I came here to buy the best villa for Xiaofang, and then I will take her to choose a car. Aren't you known as the future heir of Tianyuan Group? Aren't you very rich? Why didn't you buy it for her at that time? Buy it for Zhou Xiaofang? Am I stupid? Zhao Lei was speechless. Seeing that Zhou Xiaofang's family was hopeless, he still rushed to give his brother the betrothal money? Zhao Lei sneered, sorry, I'm not that cheap. But if you want to spend money on such a woman, I won't stop you. Like pots, like lids, I think you two are really a good match. After Zhao Lei finished speaking, he turned around and wanted to leave, too lazy to fight with them. Wu Junyi had lost the argument for a while, so he naturally wouldn't let him go. Okay, you are really good at talking. I tell you, if you mess with me, Mr. Wu today, I will drive you out of the city another day. As soon as he said this, all the security guards nearby cheered. They were security guards of the Shenhao home, so they naturally knew all the famous rich kids in the city. This Wu Junyi was obviously well known, and his family's wealth was also well known. Since Wu Junyi thought Zhao Lei was a poor boy, he was definitely not from the upper class circle. Now that Wu Junyi had nailed Zhao Lei, he was doomed. The security guards all thought that Zhao Lei would definitely not be able to survive. In this case, these security guards started to unite with Wu Junyi and wanted to bully Zhao Lei. When Zhao Lei heard that he was going to drive him out of the city, he was so angry that he wanted to laugh. He was not in a hurry to leave, but put the bag in his hand aside and looked coldly at the guys in front of him who looked down on others. You have to be responsible for what you said, and don't regret it later. As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Junyi waved his hand. The security guard immediately rushed towards Zhao Lei, shouting confidently, don't blame me, I'm doing this for the safety of the owner. After that, the electric baton in his hand hit Zhao Lei's head without mercy. Zhao Lei frowned slightly, dodged the blow by turning sideways, then reached out and grabbed the security guard's wrist and twisted it to the side. The security guard screamed in pain and the electric baton in his hand fell. Zhao Lei kicked the security guard's knee slowly, loosening his wrists. The security guard knelt on the ground with his hands on the ground. He looked like he was kowtowing. TSK, he turned out to be a weakling. Zhao Lei mocked mercilessly. At this time, the other security guards nearby saw that their companions were punished by Zhao Lei, and their faces changed. Without saying a word, they each grabbed the electric batons in their hands and rushed towards Zhao Lei. Zhao Lei just glanced at them coldly, picked up the electric baton that the security guard had just thrown away, and grabbed it in his hand. Upward, horizontal, downward, his set of movements were smooth and flowing. When it was over, the group of security guards who were still showing off their power just now all lay on the ground. Even so, the group of security guards still had dirty words, you son of a, you dare to hit me. Hey, it hurts. As soon as the security guard cursed, Zhao Lei walked up directly and stepped on his wrist. A good dog doesn't block the road. Not only did you block my way today, you also barked here and disturbed my interest. How should I punish you? Zhao Lei's eyes were sharp. After seeing this, the security guards didn't know why their hearts skipped a beat, and they were a little scared for a while. Wu Junyi was also angry when he saw that the group of security guards were so useless. He originally thought that these minions could give Zhao Lei a good beating, but now he didn't expect that he would have to take the field himself. But he was not vague. Although he was a rich kid, he had practiced some martial arts before. He originally thought that he was more than enough to deal with Zhao Lei, but he didn't expect that as soon as he pounced on him, Zhao Lei just turned sideways and stretched out his legs to trip him. Oh, my good son-in-law! The people of the Zhou family were stunned at this moment. They didn't expect it to get to this point. Zhou Xiaofang looked at Zhao Lei stupidly, wondering why he didn't know he was so powerful before. But he knew that he must stand on Wu Junyi's side at this time. So he hurried to Wu Junyi's side, helped him up from the ground, gently pressed his body against him, and asked softly, "How is it? Does it hurt?" Wu Junyi fell hard and wanted to curse in pain. There was blood hanging under his nose, and he was in a very embarrassing situation. When Zhou Xiaofang touched his chest with her little hand, he stopped feeling pain. He put his arm around Zhou Xiaofang and continued to pretend to be strong, saying without any self-awareness, "It's okay, just wait and see how I deal with him." Zhao Lei raised his eyebrows after hearing what he said, and found it extremely funny to watch him and the centenarian staggering to their feet after sleeping. Before Wu Junyi rushed over, Zhou Xiaofang started crying first. "I won't tell anyone about your unwillingness to take responsibility for me and abandoning me before, so don't hit Junyi again." Hearing what Zhou Xiaofang said, it seemed as if Zhao Lei was provoking Wu Junyi. When Wu Junyi heard what he said, his heart softened. He looked at Zhao Lei as if he was looking at an enemy, and rushed over with the electric baton on the ground. The gap in strength was there. Even though Wu Junyi had practiced some routines, his body was very weak, and he didn't have the strength or speed to do it. In a few seconds, he was grabbed by Zhao Lei's neck. "I'm going to fight you too." Seeing that Wu Junyi still couldn't beat Zhao Lei, Li Xiaofan became a little anxious and rushed forward with an electric baton. Zhao Lei looked at his fat body and thought that she was also suffering. He sneered and kicked Wu Junyi in the stomach. Wu Junyi flew backwards and hit Li Xiaofan directly. The two fell to the ground together, screaming. "I think as a person, we should not be too confident. What do you think?" Zhao Lei squatted on the ground, looking at Wu Junyi, who couldn't get up for a long time, with amusement. Wu Junyi felt a burning pain on his face. He opened his mouth to argue, but found that Zhao Lei blocked him from saying a word. For a moment, he couldn't breathe, and his chest was stuffy. Zhou Xiaofang saw the scene and knew that Wu Junyi was really angry, so she hurried over to pat his chest and coax him with soft words. Zhao Lei was speechless when he saw that the two people looked like a perfect match. Now that the matter was resolved, he picked up the bag next to him and prepared to go back. He had been out for so long, and it was estimated that Lin Shui had already cleaned up the house. If he didn't go back, they would come to find him. What he didn't expect was that Wu Junyi was beaten into a pig's head, but he still didn't know how to restrain himself. His face was as thick as a city wall, and he was shouting there with a red face. "What do you security guards do? Such a person can enter the Shenhao home. How can we, the owners, live here with peace of mind? Get him out." The security guards were knocked to the ground by Zhao Lei at first, but now they barely stand up. However, they all look at Zhao Lei with awe and fear. Zhao Lei glanced at them and didn't want to bother with them. At this moment, a security guard looked at Zhao Lei inexplicably, and suddenly picked up the intercom and started calling people. "There is a delivery man at the east gate who broke into the home with bad intentions. Come to support him." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Lei saw several people in the distance running over with electric batons. He felt a little irritated. Zhao Lei turned around and looked at Wu Junyi coldly, sneering, "Are you sick? I want to let you go, but you still come to ask for a beating?" He really had never seen such a slapping person. Wu Junyi was blushing because of what he said. While pointing at Zhao Lei, his feet led his body back. Zhao Lei felt disgusted when he saw his cowardly look, and knew that he couldn't reason with him. Just when he wanted to deal with the security guards over there, he unexpectedly came to see an acquaintance. It was the little intern with freckles on his face. Li Yu brought a few owners to see the house. While explaining to the people around her, she looked up and met Zhao Lei's greeting. Looking at this posture, Zhao Lei probably got into trouble. Those security guards didn't seem to take Zhao Lei seriously, and even helped another person. She looked at this scene and panicked. Zhao Lei bought a house, and she hadn't received her commission yet. If Zhao Lei was really provoked by these fools, and he returned the house, her huge commission would be gone. Suddenly, she, who was calm just now, panicked and pushed the customers around her to other colleagues, and hurried to Zhao Lei's side. While walking, she called her boss, and because of panic, she stuttered when she spoke. "Boss, do you still remember the customer named Zhao Lei? Our security guard wants to kick him out now." The boss of Shenhao Home was also a discerning person. He knew what it meant to be able to pay for such a villa in full directly. Of course, he remembered it and was thinking about asking Zhao Lei to introduce one or two equally wealthy friends. He didn't dare to delay any longer. He immediately pushed the documents aside, dragged his fat body out of the door, and rushed towards Zhao Lei. On the other side, Zhao Lei saw Li Yu and felt a little strange. But in such a scene, it would be good to have someone to testify for him, so he took the initiative to greet him. "Hey, you are bringing a client to see the house. This greeting was not enthusiastic, but it proved that he knew Li Yu. The security guards naturally knew Li Yu. Recently, she had risen several levels from the position of intern, but she was very famous. Seeing that Zhao Lei knew her, they were a little confused. What surprised them even more was that Li Yu actually bowed in front of Zhao Lei, looking very respectful. Why would Li Yu give face to a poor guy like Zhao Lei? The security guards were confused. Wu Junyi on the ground saw Li Yu coming over, but thought she was here to help him, so he hurriedly said, "You are the one who was responsible for handling the house purchase procedures for me just now, right? I tell you, if Zhao Lei is not kicked out today, I will give up this house." After he finished speaking, he raised his eyebrows and looked at Zhao Lei with a smug look. Li Yu looked at him. Although this matter was a bit difficult, he was unusually firm. "This sir, Mr. Zhao is our big customer. He bought the most expensive house in our community and paid in full. So he has the right to enter this community." As soon as this was said, everyone opened their mouths in surprise. They didn't believe that Zhao Lei had this ability at all. At this time, Li Xiufan reacted first. He looked at Zhao Lei and sneered, "Oh, you have enough actors under you. You acted here." Zhao Lei glanced at Li Xiufan's wrinkled face and didn't want to explain to him. Suddenly, another well-dressed fat man ran over from a distance. It must be said that it was really difficult for him. When he ran to Zhao Lei, he was already out of breath and sweat all over his head and face. The group of security guards on the ground stood up immediately. Their boss had arrived, and they still had psychological and visual strength. Zhao Lei glanced at the fat man and the reactions of the people around him, and knew that he was the boss of Shinhao Home. So he simply put on airs there. "So this is how you Shinhao Home receives big customers." A group of security guards held electric batons and insisted on driving me out. Hearing Zhao Lei say this, the fat man nodded and apologized, but he didn't expect Zhao Lei to be not finished. "I thought they wanted to show me how good the security work of our community is, but I didn't expect that I knocked down a lot of them in a few seconds. To be honest, the security of your community is not worth the price." At this point, Zhao Lei glanced at the boss. At this time, the boss had already scolded those security guards thousands of times in his heart. How dare he smooth things over? "Mr. Zhao, you are our big customer, we certainly wouldn't dare to be disrespectful to you. These security guards are newly hired temporary workers and are on probation. I didn't expect them to do such a thing, I fired them immediately." He didn't even look at the instantly collapsed faces of the security guards, guessing what Zhao Lei meant, and continued, "I assure you, our official security guards at Shinhao Home are definitely much better than them. They would never do such a thing." Zhao Lei glanced at the boss and said nothing. The boss knew that the security guard incident was over, and he was finally relieved and wiped the sweat from his forehead. He thought clearly in his mind that Zhao Lei's full payment would be a pie in the sky for him, which could make up for many of his capital turnover loopholes. He couldn't let this big fish get away. Zhao Lei's eyes fell on Wu Junyi again. Now that the matter has come to light, Zhao Lei is also ready to make the person who provoked him pay the price. "Didn't you say before that you would drive him out of the city?" Zhao Lei sneered. "Let him see who is being driven out. Mr. Zhao, I will let these security guards go immediately. Now that the misunderstanding has been resolved, do you want me to accompany you to see your newly bought house in person?" Zhao Lei raised his hand and made a stop gesture. The boss was shocked again. He didn't know what Zhao Lei was going to do, but he couldn't ask. He could only look down and wait pitifully for Zhao Lei to speak. Zhao Lei didn't want to embarrass him, so he just pointed at Wu Junyi, who was standing next to him. Which one did he buy? Wu Junyi, who was still in shock, was suddenly called by his name. He was shocked, but he couldn't give in, so he could only hold on. The boss didn't know about this, but Li Yu next to him happened to be handling the formalities for Wu Junyi, so she immediately told Zhao Lei he bought Building 01 in Area B, which is a 270 square meter economic house. The housing prices in this wealthy home are notoriously expensive. Even someone like Wu Junyi only bought an ordinary home. Zhao Lei bought a whole villa, and it was fully decorated. When comparing the financial gap, people with discerning eyes naturally know who should speak for him. After Zhao Lei finished asking, everyone held their breath, not knowing what he was going to do. Just when everyone was flustered, Zhao Lei spoke. "Tear it down and rebuild it." The boss was shocked. He really didn't expect Zhao Lei to say such a thing. He hurriedly smiled and said, "Mr. Zhao, this is not good. You see, our community has been completed, and that building has been sold out. The loss. I paid 3 times the price to buy this building. By the way, all the other owners except Wu Junyi will be relocated to the same type of house in another building." He glanced at the boss coldly, and said in a tone that did not allow for argument, Tear it down. The boss was also shocked when he heard him say that. What kind of financial resources does it take to dare to say such a thing? It's so domineering. But when he thought of Zhao Lei's previous decision to buy a house in full, he didn't think it was strange. It's just that this matter involves other owners, and he didn't dare to make a decision here directly. For a while, he was sweating profusely. But Wu Junyi next to him actually laughed. He didn't ask his family for money for this house, and he felt a little overwhelmed just to buy it. Zhao Lei actually said that he would demolish a building and buy it at 3 times the price? He just thought it was a joke. You are really good at bragging. Aren't you afraid of getting embarrassed when the time comes? After he finished speaking, Zhao Lei just glanced at him lightly, not wanting to bother with this person. But in his heart, he found it extremely funny. He is not Wu Junyi, how could he talk like a? Taking out his mobile phone, he skillfully dialed a number. I am in Xinhao home now. Let the demolition workers come here within 10 minutes to demolish a house for me. After he finished speaking, he hung up the phone without even listening to Duan Xiener's reply. His actions came so quickly that no one present could react. Wu Junyi thought Zhao Lei was just pretending, thinking in his heart how could there be demolition workers coming to demolish the building in 10 minutes. And did he not care about the resettlement issues later? Just as he was about to watch Zhao Lei's joke, he did not expect that before 10 minutes, a pair of demolition workers really arrived at the gate of the community. Looking at the group of people holding tools, Wu Junyi's face really turned green. The boss was a little flustered and hurried to find Zhao Lei to say something good. This demolition of a building is not a problem that can be solved with money. Zhao Lei waved his hand and pointed at Duan Xiener who was walking towards this side. If you have anything to say, tell him. I am only responsible for giving orders, and she is responsible for doing things. After saying that, Zhao Lei raised his neck and looked at Wu Junyi with a smile. Wu Junyi turned his head and looked at the group of demolition workers. They really went to the building he just bought. He was so scared that he sat on the ground. His face was flushed. The real estate boss would definitely return the money to him, but this made him lose face. Obviously he wanted to pretend to be a big shot, but he was suppressed by Zhao Lei. He hated Zhao Lei so much, but he also knew that his strength could not compare with Zhao Lei at all, and he could not continue to provoke Zhao Lei. It happened that Zhou Xiaofang didn't know the sky was high and the earth was thick, and she came to cry. Dear, what should we do? He wants to demolish our wedding house. You think of a way quickly. Wu Junyi was originally angry in his heart, and Zhou Xiaofang's crying made him even more upset. When he thought that he was only here to buy a house and would not provoke Zhao Lei at all, it was Zhou Xiaofang who had been provoking the relationship between him and Zhao Lei, causing them to clash. In the end, he was embarrassed. Wu Junyi was so angry that he had nowhere to vent, so he turned around and slapped Zhou Xiaofang. He was quite strong, and Zhou Xiaofang did not stand firmly, so she was directly hit to the side. Wu Junyi still felt that this slap was not enough to vent his anger, so he stood up and kicked Zhou Xiaofang twice. He kept cursing. You are such a useless woman. You have to go after me to find trouble with others for no reason. Now it's over, I am embarrassed, and you are embarrassed too. Zhou Xiaofang was stunned and didn't know how to run. She was kicked on the ground and kept rolling. For a while, her body was covered with bruises, which was painful to look at. Zhou Xiaofang cried and screamed because of his beating, but Wu Junyi's feet did not stop, and there was no mercy at all. Zhao Lei looked at the couple coldly and felt funny in his heart. Zhou Xiaofang has been treated kindly by me for 5 years. She is so spoiled that she cannot stand any grievance. Does she feel good now? Just now, she was calling him dear and little darling in a very affectionate way.